Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. The time is now 6 p.m. and this meeting of the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency is now called to order. Let's proceed to the invocation led by Board Member Hay, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Board Member Cruz. Let's all stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we pause at the beginning of this evening's meeting to acknowledge your presence and to seek your guidance. Lord, we thank you for the privilege and responsibilities of serving the people of Boynton Beach through the work of the Community Redevelopment Agency. Lord, we ask that you bless our 5-member board members, our staff, and all who are gathered here tonight. We ask, Lord, that you grant us wisdom to make decisions that will strengthen our community, courage to face the challenges with integrity, and compassion to keep the needs of our residents at the heart of all that we do. Lord, let our discussion be respectful, our action be fair, and our vision be clear. May the projects we undertake promote not only economic growth, but unity, beauty, and opportunity for all. We place this meeting in your hands, trusting that you will give us guidance. Our city will continue to move forward in a way that honors you and of benefits of every neighbor. We ask it all in Jesus' name we pray. Let the audience say amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Let me turn to our Deputy City Clerk, Maylee, tonight. If you could please begin the roll call.
Chair Shelton,
Present.
Vice Chair Hay,
Present.
Board Member Cruz,
Present.
Board Member Turkin,
Present.
Board Member Kelly.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. So we are now moving on to, what do we got though? We are now moving on to additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda. Let's begin to my right. Board Member Cruz, are there any additions, deletions, corrections you'd like to make to the agenda as published?
I do not, thank you.
Board Member Hay?
I do not.
Board Member Kelly?
No, thank you.
Board Member Turkin?
Nope, good to go.
And I do not. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
All those in favor to approve the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Let's now turn to legal counsel. Are there any updates?
Good evening, Board. Catherine Rossmo with Lewis, Longman & Walker. We do have an update for you. So last meeting, you'll recall, we put before you a policy consideration for public comment. There is no legal obligation to undertake this. It was just something that we were looking at in response to a request to look to expedite meetings. At the last meeting, you directed us to bring back 2 policies for your consideration. One that would allow public comment for a total of 3 minutes at the beginning of every meeting, and another that would allow public comment for 3 minutes at the beginning of a meeting for all items not under new business, and then 3 minutes for each item under new business that would ordinarily be subject to public comment. Both of those policies are here. I'm happy to walk you through them if you'd like, or entertain any questions. If it's helpful, I can provide a broad overview of them.
That would be
Okay,
great.
sure. So I will start with the one that allows for 3 minutes in 2 different areas. So the first is that, so all public, right now, the way that your agenda is set up is that you have public comment at the beginning for items not on the agenda and for consent agenda. And then each individual item that's ordinarily subject to public comment, you receive public comment at the time that item is considered. That policy is perfectly fine. You can continue with that as it is. The policy before you related to having 3 minutes for new items and 3 minutes for all other items is kind of a hybrid approach. So what it would mean is at the beginning of every meeting, this board would accept public comment on every item on the agenda except those items that fall under new business, and each speaker would be given a total of 3 minutes to comment on any item they wanted to on the agenda, but it would max out at 3 minutes. And in addition to that, every item under new business would also allow for public comment for 3 minutes for each person for that item. So each person would have no more than 6 minutes at any given meeting to comment before the CRA. You could, of course, always expand or contract this time, but that would be the default setting. You always can accept in either policy, you can accept written public comment. Right now, it is the board's policy to not allow any speaker to donate their time to another speaker, so that's retained, and then each speaker is asked for their name and address. Yes, Board Member Kelly.
Thank you. So just so I know that I'm understanding it, so there would be 3 minutes at the beginning for public comment like we kind of do. And then for each new business item, they would have the opportunity to speak on each item for 3 minutes, or when we get to new business, there would be a public comment, anyone speaking on any of the new business items, this is your 3 minutes to speak, and we're not going to entertain 3 minutes per each item.
So the way it's drafted, it is 3 minutes per each item under new business. However, it doesn't have to be drafted that way.
Right, well, so looking at tonight's agenda, we have 6 items under new business. So that would mean that somebody would have an opportunity to speak.
Oh, right.
Right,
Yes.
so-
Yeah, for each, right.
Right, so if they speak on each one and then speak on public comment, they're speaking on 21 minutes of time, and I think that that's excessive. I think that what we've been doing is very excessive, and it's confusing, and it's not very efficient. So, personally, I would rather just have one public comment, because we're not doing public hearings, we're not doing the things that under the law require a public comment, separate public comment, right?
Well, so that's correct. You are not performing quasi-judicial and quasi-legislative hearings, so you do not require it at the same time.
Right. So I think that what we're finding now, and what happened at the last meeting, is that it's very ineffective and inefficient what we're doing. It becomes a joke by the end of the meeting, who's coming out for public comment, and some people just take advantage and come up and talk about it to talk about it. So I want to make sure that we're not wasting our time and everyone else's time to just talk to hear ourselves talk. So, I mean, my feeling personally would either be that we just have one public comment at the beginning to talk about anything on in the alternative, I could entertain that maybe before new business, there was one additional opportunity to speak about any of those new business items, period. You have 3 minutes under general public comment, and you have 3 minutes under before new business, or, to talk specifically on what's under new business, but that even may get confusing. So, but to imagine that someone could speak for 21 minutes, and a lot of our new business is not even necessarily that somebody like our marina lease agreements, so I want to make sure that we're not allowing public comment just so that people can talk, because I think that wastes everyone's time, and it's really not efficient, and it's not. So, I mean, those are my thoughts. We have a public comment section for a reason, and that should be the opportunity for them to talk on any of the items that are on there. We never have an enormous, crazy, intense agenda, so I feel like that's efficient, but those are just my comments on public comment.
Board Member Turgan, do you have some?
I concur with that. I would like to have the option of this board reserving the right to ask for public comments on any item if we see that, if it so fits.
Yes, sir. That is in both policies. There are several items. So first is that you can expand or contract the 3 minutes by vote of this board. The second is that at any meeting, the board can vote to hear public item on a particular item at that time when the board is hearing that item. So you can always pull an item and say, we'll accept public comment for this item at the time it's heard.
Then I agree with Board Member Kelly.
Same for me.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry, to be clear, are we doing 3 minutes in total, or 3 minutes in total plus 3 minutes for new business as a collective? Total. Okay, So if you would like, you can entertain a motion to adopt, I believe that's version 2 of the policy?
So move.
No, it's,
and
was
just as-
attachment 3 is what it is on the,
And just for point of clarification, when would you want that policy to begin?
I can't hear what you're saying.
So effective next meeting?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
second.
So what is the exact motion, Catherine?
A motion to adopt the public comment policy as shown in attachment 3, effective next meeting.
Okay, and Commissioner Turkin, I mean.
Second.
Board Member, we made the first. Board Member Turkin made the first, Board Member Kelly made the second. All of those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
Sorry,
The
we
roll
do.
call?
We also do public comment.
Oh, public comment, come on down if anyone has anything to comment on this.
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. I think you should have a public comment at the beginning, and then before the items that you're going to be discussing as new items. It is your job to listen to the residents, and restricting the residents' right to speak is not appropriate. And we already don't feel listened to as it is, since no one bothers to reply back to anyone, except, the random 1 or 2 people up there on the dais. No one gets back, because I hear about it, everyone else hears about it, I know the mayor complains about it, so I think you do need to listen to the residents. I think you need to listen to them more, and that's part of your job, and that's part of what you're being paid for, is to sit here and listen, whether they want to talk about the sun and the moon and the stars, or they want to talk about an issue on the agenda. People should be allowed to talk. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, public comment's now closed.
Oh, would you like to take the vote?
Do you have to read the motion again? No. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Let's moving on. Where are we?
Informational items,
Yeah.
7.
Informational items. Let's begin on my left. Board Member Turkin, do you have any informational items or disclosures on the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Board Member Kelly?
Thank you, Chair. I have spoken to Lauren Gobel with regard to 15C, but that's my only disclosure. Thank you.
I too have met with Lauren for 15C. Board Member Hay?
No, I do not.
Board Member Cruz?
I do not.
Great. Let's now take a look at information only. Are there any information only my colleagues would like to discuss? No? Okay. So just move right on. Let's move on to announcements and awards. I apologize, I'm working off of 2 agendas here, one with speakers, one without, so give me a moment.
Gabby Frere will be,
Yes. Yes, there's one announcement, Rock the Plaza.
Good evening, Board. Gabby Ferreira, Marketing Business Promotions Coordinator. We are very excited to announce Rock the Plaza this Saturday, August 16th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Ocean Plaza. We're going to have the band Rogue Theory, and we're going to have Boynton Beach Bucks, and a lot of exciting things happening. So everybody is welcome to come.
Thank you so much. And now let's move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is public comment. The public comment section of the meeting is for public comments on items on consent agenda or items that are not on the agenda. So again, if you're representing a business listed under consent agenda, or you're discussing an item that's not on the agenda, now would be the appropriate time to come to the podium. You can begin by stating your name for the record. Each person has 3 minutes. After we conclude with those in person, we will go to those online. So again, anyone that would like to make public comment, please come down to the podium.
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. I want to say thank you, Tim, for allowing Mike to get into the Magnuson House and start measuring things. I think it's sad that it took so long to get a liability waiver release That's a standard paper that should be sitting on everyone's desk. So I don't know why it took so long to get one to him, but I thank you for allowing him to go in and start moving forward on this. Obviously, the public have not forgotten about the Andrews House or the Magnuson House. So thank you, and I don't know if you guys saw the news about what's going on in West Palm with their historic house in Northwood. There's like a 5-page story in the paper about 2 weeks ago. They have a historic planner who is going to be able to apply for state grants to totally move that, and it's a couple $100,000. And so obviously, having a historic planner obviously pays for itself. So thank you for considering having a historic planner, and know that there is plenty of money there, so we can make this happen without, being a drain on the city, the CRA, or the residents. And thank you, and I want to say I finally got Dad's house rented today. Yay, 6.5 months to get a tenant. So I hope our CRA police are actively patrolling Seacrest and keep everything under control so I don't lose my really great tenants that it has taken 6.5 months to get. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, moving on. Is there anyone online?
IT, there is someone on the left. No, it's Tom Warnke, so that's why I'm thinking it's not on a specific item, but he's not over on the active side, so I'm not really sure if they've vetted that or not. If IT could let us know. No?
No?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everybody. If there's no one else in the chambers, we are going to now close public comment and move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items my colleagues would like to pull for discussion? Let's start to my left with Board Member Turkin.
No.
Board Member Kelly.
No, thank you, Chair.
Board Member Hay.
No.
And Board Member Cruz. Okay.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Board Member Kelly and a second by Board Member Hay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, let's go to, there's no poll, let's go to 13. Let those pull, this is crazy. 13.
Right, yeah.
Yep, I'm going to turn to our acting executive director, Mr. Tack. Could you give us an update on the CRA Advisory Board?
Good evening, Board. I guess I'm going to have to talk into this a little louder. The CRA Advisory Board met in June. They did not have a meeting in July due to conflict with the holiday. However, in June, they did discuss additional ways to beautify the CRA district, as well as a splash pad, and we'll be looking at a future meeting here to discuss that and present that before the board. They also discussed a little bit on how they were going to do that at the last meeting here in August, and they will be in September discussing ways to honor the 2 Heisman winners from Boynton, as well as discuss the naming of renaming of streets to be a little more in line with our different districts.
Okay, any questions from my colleagues on these items?
No, thank you.
Okay, we will now be moving on to old business. First item for discussion and consideration is the continued discussion and consideration of budget funding towards the Neighborhood Officer Program, code enforcement and/or beautification efforts in the CRA. Mr. Tack, can you open this item, or?
Ms. Jabbar Jenkins will be presenting this item before the board this evening.
Good evening, Board. So my name is Jabbar Jenkins, Finance and Accounting Manager, and the 3 items for discussion is the funding of the Neighborhood Officer Program, code enforcement, and the beautification efforts in the CRA district. So on the budget, we're proposing an amount of $147,000 for the beautification, which are 2 technicians. We are also proposing an amount of $308,964 for the code enforcement, which is 4 officers. And we're also proposing the full amount requested for the NOP program, which is $1,213,868, which the sergeant will be funded at 100%.
And these numbers are in concert with what the city's request was. So they have been incorporated as well as our proposed budget, which we'll be reviewing later as well.
Can I ask a quick question? Have we discussed, so I know that eventually, there would be a need downtown for a full-time sergeant to have on. I'm just wondering, I know I had briefly spoken to Captain Brodelsky about this, if there was, because I believe there's another kind of community task force that works in the downtown area, and I was wondering if there was any additional conversation about kind of utilizing another sergeant to kind of oversee, since they do similar and work in similar areas, if we could, just until we really recognize and realize the need of that position. I just don't, and especially, I mean, we're gonna have a conversation later, and I've talked to you, Tim, about it, you know, scaling back events. And so are we really going, if we're scaling back events because of the because of the law on CRAs, is there really gonna be a need to have a full-time sergeant at the disposal of the CRA at this time? I know eventually, once, you know, downtown is a lot busier with builds, that there may be a need for a full-time. I am hesitant to kind of fund a sergeant specifically for this unit without knowing if there truly is a full-time need for that because of other things that are in play. So.
Okay. We have had discussions. We haven't had in direct about the task force. This is what the request was from the city. It's my understanding that they have a need for a full-time sergeant as a part of the NOT program. But I would have to defer, you know, to Captain Brodelsky to address that need. Certainly, we can meet with the city and have further discussions in regards to that funding. It's up to the board.
And, Board Chair, if I may, you also have the option, of course, to include this in the budget, and that doesn't and give us the direction not to go ahead and implement that until this is further sussed out. You can always amend your budget later, but for budgeting purposes, if you'd like to secure it in case it's necessary, and then have your CRA staff work with the city to determine the path forward that you're suggesting, that's also an option available to you tonight.
And certainly, if you're looking at expanding the downtown we could be looking at a mid-year budget adjustment to your effect if we needed to do some additional funding in that regard.
Right, yeah, I guess until we really know the need to have that conversation, but those are my thoughts on it. But.
Any other comments? Yeah, Sergeant, do you want to come down and speak?
Oh, Captain Brodelsky, if you wouldn't mind.
So the addition of the CRA sergeant, the problem with trying to commingle the CRT unit with the CRA sergeant is the fact that the CRT unit, although that it does work on the east side of the city, it works throughout the entire city. That sergeant is tasked with multiple initiatives, one of which is here on the east side of the city, but it's outside the CRA district. Some of you may be familiar with it. I'm not going into details, but that is not in the CRA district. So that sergeant is focused with his team on that. This sergeant would be responsible for the CRA officers. Span of control for sergeants on the police department is somewhere between 4 and 8 officers. A typical patrol unit sergeant, there's up to 18 officers on a squad, and that is a squad that handles a day shift or an overnight shift. They have 3 sergeants. So that sergeant is ultimately responsible for about 6 people. At its maximum, we're not quite at its maximum right now, but at its maximum, they would have 6 sergeants. So the request is to have the sergeant oversee the CRA unit. Presently, I oversee multiple units. I mean, I can go through them all if you'd like me to, but I have about 39 people that I'm responsible for in the police department. And of those units, I have a K-9 sergeant for the K-9 unit. I have a traffic sergeant for the traffic unit. And I have a sergeant that is over new hires, and that is the sergeant that gets the new officers ready for patrol. So that sergeant and I can be responsible for an additional anywhere from 1 to 2 officers up to 10 to 15 officers, depending upon how many have gotten out of the academy and we've been able to hire. So that would increase those 39 to close to 49 people if we had 10. Right now, we only have, I want to say 5 additional. And I didn't include those 5 in that 39. So in essence, it would allow the CRA officers to have better online supervision on the road, because the majority of my responsibility is within the police department, because I have the admin responsibility on the reports and the budgeting and the billing and all that, as well as managing and just overseeing the operational functions of all those units. So this sergeant would strictly be for the CRA to ensure that we focus on our CRA requirements that are in the quarterly report that you probably all have seen, and they would be able to, that sergeant would be able to direct those officers. Commissioner Kelly's thought on commingling those units, I think is a good idea if that unit was only focused in this same immediate area, but they're not. So that sergeant's now focusing on an initiative as well as many others that he has, but that's one initiative that's very close to the CRA district, but it's not in the CRA district. So that's why we're asking for that. And again, it fits the span of control of the department. We're not asking for something that's atypical of what we do. It is consistent with how the police department functions. So we feel it's a reasonable request. I will say that these CRA officers are very independent. They do work independently. They're great officers. But having an oversight is always good. And having direction, and also they act as a source of information for these officers. They typically, a sergeant typically has a vast amount of knowledge that an officer doesn't have, so they can go to that sergeant, and he or she would be more readily accessible than me, not because I'm not accessible and speak to them on a daily basis. It's just that he or she would be out there with them on the street. So if there's any questions, I would love to answer them. But that's just a quick synopsis on why we've made that request.
Captain, just to follow up, so are there sergeants available right now? Like, what is the process, or what's the timeline that you anticipate you would actually have a sergeant that is designated to this team? And how would, and then also when we selected, or when there was a process to bring in the NOP officers who are in now, who, as you know, were picked because of their desire to do what they're doing, and they love, I have spoken to them many times, and they do enjoy what they're doing. So I also want to make sure that the CRA is part of that process. I think that the last time that I know the executive director at the time sat on that committee to select the persons that were on the NOP program. And so I guess, so my question is twofold. One, what's the expected timeline on having a sergeant assigned to this? Because that, as I understand it, that's a process, because I don't think there's a bunch of sergeants sitting around waiting for work. And then the second question is would the CRA, or at least, a staff member, be part of that process, so that we can make sure that whoever is in this position is not just somebody, and I know you'll, is not somebody that's just going to sit behind a desk at the new pretty NOP office and just tell them what to do,
and not be out there, because the conversation you and I had is, of course, the expectation of this position. They would be boots on the ground too, and they would be interacting with our businesses and our residents and not just being a supervisor. And so that is going to take a special person in that position. And so what I don't want to happen is that we approve this and you assign a sergeant to it, and then now we have this person who's not doing, is doing the job, because they're all capable of doing the job, but are they doing it the way that we would want it to be done?
Understood. Those are, obviously, good questions, and I can answer those questions. So presently, we have a list for eligible persons to be sergeants. That being said, it doesn't mean that one of those eligible people that are eligible for promotion to the rank of sergeant will be selected for this position. We would require that it be a tenured sergeant. We would post the position through our typical posting in the police department, which would describe the responsibilities for this position and the fact that they would need to be boots on the ground, and they would be out there working with the officers day to day, making the business contacts, doing those things that the officers typically do. And then we would seek those sergeants that were interested in that position. And then we would have an interview panel that would do the interviews, and then they would rank those sergeants in an order of how they performed on that interview panel. And then that selection would be based on their performance on that interview panel for that position. And then what would happen is one of those people on the sergeant's list would be promoted, and they would then get trained to replace not necessarily that sergeant, but they would move to a road patrol sergeant position. So it may require a couple sergeants be moved, contingent upon who gets selected, but someone from that promotional list, which is good through, I want to say, late January, I don't have the exact date of 2026, but they would then be promoted off that list, be trained and placed as a road sergeant, and then the CRA sergeant would get filled with a tenured sergeant. So that's how it would work.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? So we would like to do a little more research on this, or do we want to vote on this?
I agree with Commissioner Kelly's sentiment. Sorry, Board Member Kelly.
Is that to do some more research and not vote on it tonight?
Yeah, I'm okay to postpone this.
Okay.
Thank you.
We all agree?
Yes.
Okay, since we are not voting on this item tonight, would any,
May I
anyone
seek
like-
clarification from staff perspective? So is your direction tonight to exclude the NOP officer allocation for the sergeant from this year's budget?
No.
No.
This is that we will have a continued discussion at the next meeting, but that I am comfortable moving forward with the beautifications and streets and code enforcement, because
Yes,
that's
me
very
too.
important. So if we can separate those out as separate motions, or we can table the,
Okay, so to be clear, the item before you relates to what's to be in the budget, not the design of the actual
Got it.
programs. So if you would like for us to exclude it from the budget, we can, or if you would like us to include it to the budget,
Yeah.
but bring back the program parameters, we
That's
can do
fine.
that as well.
we can do that,
Okay,
that's fine.
so we're going to include it in the.
Yeah, because I think there needs to be more, just the process, and that's information that, Tim can get. I want to know, thank you, Captain Brodowski. I know you attend all the events, and you're very busy, and you're very committed to all of the departments. I just want to make sure that, moving forward, that we make sure that we're doing it right and we take our time. It's not something we need to rush through. We can have it on the budget, but let's have more discussions on that.
Sure, and then because the items because these are budget items and the budget discussion is the next item, all public comment for this item can be heard at that time as well.
okay, so we can just,
So we have your directions, thank you.
okay. All right, thank you. And then after the next one, we can do one motion, Catherine, if need be? And then after the next item, it could be one combined motion?
On the public comment, yes, because, so this was just discussion for inclusion in the budget that you're about to discuss now, so any comments for this will actually be heard at the time of budget approval.
Okay, good, thank you. So the next item for discussion and consideration is the continued discussion and consideration of fiscal year 2025 to 2026 project fund budget, revised from August 8th, 2025. Ms. Hill, can you present the item?
Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, Board members. My name is Vicki Hill. I am the Finance Director. And of course, what is in peach is what we will be rolling over, but we're going to focus on what is in green, what we are actually going to budget for fiscal year 25-26. The first thing that we have is the property maintenance for the post office, which is at 217 Seacrest. We're not budgeting anything for them this year. The adaptive reuse for historic properties, we have a little over $1,050,000 for that. Business development and promotions, 435,045. Business promotional marketing, we have $218,604. The item that we just spoke about, the beautification technicians, 2 of them for $147,000. Then we have the 4 code enforcement officers for $308,964. The Boynton Beach Police Department needs 10 cameras. That's, they asked for $60,000. We already have in our budget for the engineer project manager, and we didn't budget anything for this year because we're rolling over. The historic planner, we put in $100,000 for the historic planner. The commercial economic redevelopment grants, we put in $277,344. We have a contingency that we're adding $110,109 to. CRA plan, we're rolling. Our legal services, we have at $280,000. NOP, 1.2, 13,870. The parking garage, we're adding $500,000 to the parking garage. Professional development services, we have $128,745. Property acquisition, we're going to add 2.6 to that. Ride share, $450,000. Site work and demo, $242,584. Marina ERM monitoring wells, we're going to add $36,087 to that. The marina seawall, we're adding $250,000. These are the things that will be in the master ILA for the city. We have for Pence Park, design and construction, $4 million. Excuse me, the design is rolling because they didn't use it. We haven't used it yet, so it's going to end up being 4.4. The senior center design, we're not adding to that. Federal Highway crosswalk, $600,000. Fourth streetscape improvement, $250,000. And I just want you guys to know we've had extensive talks with the city. We've had meeting after meetings for the master ILA.
Great.
So we're giving them exactly what they asked for. They didn't ask for anything for the lighting. We're just rolling what we have. Federal Highway streetscape, $350,000. Harvey Oyer Park pier design and permit, $350,000. There's your item. The Historic Women's Club, we're rolling the $500,000 that we had. J.C. Park master design, we're adding $450,000. We have entry features signage for $50,000. Centennial Park improvement design and construction, we're adding $250,000. Town Square hardening, they need bollards for $200,000. We put in $200,000. We're not sure what they need, so we put something in there for that. Cottage District Road improvement designs, we're rolling that. MLK streetscape improvement designs, and MLK Streetscape, we're rolling that. Local match stormwater, we're rolling that. And MLK entry feature construction, we're adding 150, 641 to that. What is your pleasure? Oh, and by the way, just know that this isn't concrete and stone until next month, so this is the time to discuss.
Any comments or questions from my colleagues?
Not on the project's budget. Thank you for all of your work, and I like the master ILA being broken down a little bit instead of being in one bunch.
Yeah, it
so
was
I like
much
that, so
better.
thank you. Thank you for doing that. Helps us realize what exactly all of those projects are, so.
Yeah.
Were there other aspects other than the project that you wanted to discuss as part of the budget?
Yes, I would like to talk about what we call it business development promotion so that it fits the Florida statute criteria, but I think we need to talk about our events. And really have, I went to the night market, as I know some of my colleagues did as well, and it's booming. We have really, we chose the right weekend to have that for sure, but I think that it has grown outside of the scope of the CRA, in my opinion. And so I think that I would like the CRA to start having conversations with the city to see if there's some of these that really should shift. I know that like the Rock the Plazas are really effective in bringing business into those plazas. But I have concerns when we do big events at City Hall that we're on the edge of what we should be doing as a CRA for business development. And so those are my concerns, and I wanted to mention, I did have this conversation with Tim, so it's not a surprise that it's a conversation, but I think it's something that we do need to talk about, because I don't want to be on the news because we have had events that are now becoming, entertainment events, and our events staff, our business development staff, I'll call them that, have been really great to make these amazing events what they are, but I have concerns that we could end up being, kind of don't do what Boynton Beach does as far as utilizing those funds. So those are my thoughts on that, but I'm.
Anyone else?
Did we throw a line item in there or have a discussion item for Coquina Cove? Catherine, this is what we talked about as far as the, I don't see that on the agenda. I don't see that in the budget. Yet there was consensus at the last meeting to discuss that.
Right, so I don't understand that to be a part of the master ILA.
Is that a part of the master ILA?
I don't believe that it is. There is a contingency fund in here for projects that are outside of that. Certainly, if that's
Okay,
something that you want us
that's
to
fine.
dedicate funding to, because I don't want to get out ahead of Vicky
Sure.
here, that, we can assign an amount of funding to that effort.
Yeah, I think the conversation too.
Because we have to have follow-up discussions with the city on how that would work. That was part of
That was a
restriction.
month ago.
Yeah.
No, sir. When we met with the city, they had it on there, but they didn't have a number. So we're waiting to hear what they were going to say.
Final cost would be?
Yes, sir.
So would you like it as a separate line item next month after?
Yeah, that'd be great for the discussion item. As-
We'll make sure we get a number. We'll have them give us something so we can make sure that it's there.
They have a utility project that's overall drainage, but I think you were talking actually about
We're talking about-
entryway.
Correct,
Correct?
correct, yes.
Okay. Are we going to vote on this next month?
The discussion
This
about the roadway? No, we can do that next meeting,
next meeting?
because we can pull it from the contingency fund.
Okay, since we're not
If there's
voting on it tonight,
consensus.
would anybody like to hear from the
We'll
public?
coordinate with the city,
gonna
get an
bring it back.
idea. We'll coordinate with the city, get an idea of what the budgetary is, and then, and update this accordingly.
Okay. Since we're not voting on this item tonight, would any colleagues like to hear public comment or keep moving? Okay, I'm going to take that as we're going to keep moving. Okay. Moving on to item C. The next item for discussion and consideration is the termination of the commercial rent reimbursement grant balance for Dallo Restaurant LLC located at 1017 North Federal Highway. CRA staff, can you open this item?
Good evening, Board. Bonnie Nicklin, Grants and Project Manager. Yes, the CRA Board awarded a grant to Dallo Restaurant. It's a takeout Caribbean restaurant at the corner of Federal and MLK. They opened June 2024. Unfortunately, I received an email on July 21st saying that due to hardships and cost and lack of business, they were not able to remain open. So therefore, they would be terminating the grant. They had 1 month left on reimbursement. So we're just asking board approval.
Okay. Any questions from my colleagues on this item? Any public comment on this item? Okay.
Let me get the exact language.
To terminate the grant.
Motion to terminate the commercial rent reimbursement grant balance to Dallo Restaurant LLC.
Second.
Board Member Kelly made a motion to terminate the commercial rent reimbursement grant balance to Dollar Restaurant LLC. Board Member Hay made a second. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item D. Next item for discussion and consideration is the discussion and consideration of the Economic Development Grant Program Guidelines and Application for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. CRA staff, can you open this item?
Good evening again. Yes, as every year, we bring these grant programs back to the board for their review and approval before we make them available at the beginning of the fiscal year. As Vicki just mentioned in the budget, we have $600,000 for the program planned so far. And we don't have any major recommendations for changes in this year's programs. We did make some minor changes to be in line with Florida state statute, which legal has reviewed and approved. So I'm here for any questions you may have.
Any questions from my colleagues?
Bonnie, are we increasing it from, sorry, did I miss that? Are we changing the figures from last year? Did we max out last year? Are we adding more to it?
Right. So this current fiscal year is in the exception because of the Heart of Boynton shops. So I'm close to maybe $800,000 that have been awarded in the grants. However, I felt I didn't need quite that much funding next year because the Heart of Boynton shops have all been leased up. So I told staff that I think 600 is appropriate. I usually average around 5 to 6 each year.
I imagine that maybe not this year, but the next
Yes.
year with especially the villages
Absolutely, with the
coming in.
villages, absolutely.
Yeah, that we'll have to look at that again, and I think it'll be a fluctuating thing.
Yes,
from
absolutely.
next year on, so, okay, thank you, Bonnie.
Any public comment on this? Okay. Public comment is now closed. Would any of my colleagues like more discussion or to make a motion?
Motion to approve fiscal year 25-26 commercial rent reimbursement grant program application and the fiscal year 25-26 commercial property improvement grant program.
Second.
I'm just going to go with that. Board Member Kelly made a motion and Board Member Turkett made a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board. I think they make such a huge difference working with these businesses. They're all so grateful and express that. And we'll make sure to do all the notice of fundings and marketing to let people know that there's a new bucket of money come October 1st. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Bonnie.
Next item for discussion and consideration is the continued discussion and consideration of the purchase of the inn at Boynton located at 480 West Boynton Beach Boulevard. This was revised from 8/8/25. Mr. Tack, do you want to open up this item?
Absolutely. Per the last board meeting, per direction of the board, a special board workshop was held on Friday, July 25th, 2025 at 2 p.m. for the additional negotiation in terms of the purchase of the property. The revised purchase price was negotiated to $8.1 million with a deposit of $250,000, which was a carryover from previous. Due diligence feasibility period of 30 days from the effective date of the purchase and sale agreement. A closing date of 45 days for the effective date of the purchase and sale, and the property to be delivered unoccupied. I believe a representative from, for the seller is available to discuss if you have any questions, and this is before the board for your further consideration.
Hi there.
Good afternoon, or good evening. I'm Leslie Evans. I represent Arachi Partners LLC, the owner of the building. If there's any questions or any answers, I've worked with your counsel on the contract, and we've gone through it. Just a question of what you decide. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. And we have someone online, you said?
Mr. Serrani is online if we needed him.
Okay. We do have the owner online, but I don't have any questions for him. Do any of my colleagues have any questions about this? Are there any public comments about this? Come on down, sir.
Good afternoon, Mike McCray. I urge you all to go ahead and purchase this. Let's do due diligence for this city. Great piece of property. Don't let it get away. We need to get it now. Just like when it was on Minor Road, when we had the property for the fire department and the police department. We had colleagues that I was serving that said that a hotel should go there. We made a promise to the citizens of Boynton that we will put the Boynton Beach Police Department out there and also the fire department. I'm glad to say that I was a part of that when it happened. Let's make this happen. Thank you.
No, I do want to know that there was an arrest made for human trafficking on this site
Gonna say
recently with a underage girl. So I think this is important to move forward with, just out of the sheer, activity that goes on there. And I know this was inherited by the current landowner, but anything that we can do to eliminate and save even one life is
Yeah.
important.
I agree, especially after the
And it
article
does
that I
put us
read.
in a position to be in control of what goes on there, both now and in the future. So I think it would be really to our advantage to move ahead with this project. Put us in the driver's seat.
Okay.
I just want to put in my 2 cents because as much as I think that this property would be great to destroy and tear down because that's what's going to happen to it, I struggle because the owner of this property from FDOT, from the federal government, received $3 million for part of parking access, and I think that is not being taken into consideration. And I feel like this is highway robbery, and I know that he was saying he didn't want us to think we were going to get away with a fire sale at the last meeting. But when you look at the numbers, we had an appraisal, the land appraised at about $5.5 million. And when you look at that and you take the $3 million that he was handed by FDOT for a portion of the property that's not being taken into consideration when he's selling this property, because I think that plays a part in not being able to sell this on top of all of the negative history that goes along with this hotel. You get to the figure that, he wouldn't budge on with the chair. And so I really, he sat here at the last meeting and said, we are not going to get away with a fire sale, and we're not going to get away with getting this for nothing. And yet I look at it as the opposite, because when I look at this and I see he won't go below $8 million and even more than that, and was handed $3 million from FDOT, it looks like we're the ones being taken advantage of and not the opposite. And so, we're tearing this down. This isn't a hotel that we're utilizing as a hotel. And although I do agree that it is necessary, I cannot in good conscience spend $8 million when, A, we're not getting the entire property that we would have gotten a year ago, because FDOT took part of that, and the highway will now be even more in the backyard than it already was. But to not take into consideration that you've received $3 million of federal money as part of that purchase from or that eminent domain from FDOT is, I can't wrap my head around $8 million. So I am not going to support this because I do not believe that he is acting in good faith when he came to negotiate with the chair. And so I cannot support this, but I agree. It would be a great opportunity for us to clean up Boynton Beach Boulevard. I think it's important, but I think that's appalling. And I think that you're taking advantage of the city because you know just how horrible this hotel has been for our city and our name, to have it on headlines that this hotel is harboring minors and what all has, and that's just starting. I mean, we've had, you name the crime, it's happened at the inn. And so I cannot, and so I will stop talking because I will just get more angry as I talk. But those are my thoughts on that. I will not be supporting this tonight for the reasons I just stated, and so that's my position on that. So.
You know, I'll make one comment, and I think a couple. It's the gateway into our city that looks like garbage. And the cops that are supposed to be patrolling the northern part of Forest Park are always at this property, right? So we are not getting the patrol that we need. So I agree. I was not happy in the negotiation at that 8.1. Do I think that, yeah, he's coming out on a good real estate deal? Of course I do. But I think to change the image of the city, people coming into City Hall, to stop the human trafficking, to stop the drugs, to stop the overdoses, to stop the fighting, to stop the cars, all other police reports that have come out of there. And when the owner says the cops haven't been there in the last 6 months, that's not true. But this song and dance has been going on for years. And so if we can do something right with it in the long run, I think it's time that we just bite it and take this property over and change the game.
Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Thank you. I do want to make a point, and I applaud you, Board Member, I almost called you Commissioner, Board Member Kelly, for your sentiments. I think you're making very rational comments that are based on logic and not on emotion. I think that right now we have a property in front of us that's been a public nuisance for decades and decades, and we are ashamed to have this property in the way that it has been in our city. It's embarrassing, and we definitely need to do something about it. However, I think it is our responsibility as leaders of this city to be responsible with taxpayer dollars and really get to the bottom of the amount that we deserve to receive this land for. As mentioned earlier by Board Member Kelly, $3 million that were received by FDOT to kind of compensate for the part of the land that the highway will be taking in the future, which is something that the CRA and the city will not be able to utilize because it's gone and you have been duly paid for that land. You know, we need some sort of a credit for that. And I think that we deserve that, and the taxpayers deserve that. So do I believe that we need to purchase this land, this property? Absolutely. I think that there's definitely validity to it. I think the property should have been shut down a long time ago as a public nuisance, and I think that you're getting a really good possibility here. However, I think that we need to be, again, responsible with taxpayer dollars and remembering the $3 million that you did receive from FDOT and understanding that $8 million is way too high of a price. And I think that we need to take the power back into the board and understand that we have the authority and we have the will. And if we say no tonight to that number, I do not see anybody in the private sector paying more for that property than we have tonight. And so I would suggest that we go back and try one more time to negotiate a better price with thinking in mind of the $3 million from FDOT that were received by you, sir, and were not given to the CRA and are not going to be compensated for it. We're paying for the entirety of the property, but we're not receiving the entirety of the property. So that's what I would suggest that we do one more, and that we have we look at the value of the property.
Can I respond now,
with
or
the
should I wait till?
No, please, go ahead and respond.
Okay. First of all,
No.
the owner, of yes,
First of
excuse me.
all, let me say my spiel on it.
The chair runs the meeting.
Let him respond to her.
I
that
didn't
we
ask
can-
you.
Sure.
I don't need to ask you. If the chair
Yeah, let him
says
respond
so,
to her.
Then let her, then let
Yeah,
him.
let him
But
respond to her.
you don't run the meeting.
Just please, let
That's
him.
what I just said. She
Why
said
don't you
that.
be quiet?
Both of you, let
Point
him
of order.
respond to her so that we can keep this on track. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
the owner of the property inherited that property after a very, very long legal battle to get it from the tenant who was in there. We agreed that there were a lot of things that were done there that we certainly did not approve of, and it has cost us dearly. It's cost us in fines, it's cost us in damage to the building, it's cost us tremendously economically. I'm not going to agree with you. I've seen the arrest records, it's deplorable. Now, on the other hand, I would say this: we brought something that, excuse me, it's just been one of those days today. We brought an appraisal that was done by Anderson and Carr, a very well-known firm who had $8.5 million on it to the city, and that was considered after the land was taken. It was done excluding the land. We also understand that there was another appraisal that the city had in the area of about 8.25, and in the negotiations, we've agreed to go down to $8.1 million. I would disagree with the valuation of the property, and as far as the applicability of it, as far as the ability to sell it, I can tell you personally, I've handled numerous phone calls, so has the owner, about people who would like that. It's an ideal spot. It's got great visibility off of I-95. I-95 is going to be restructured there, which will be an additional improvement for the city and for traffic flow. That property will sell. I know the owner, he's not going to go down on the price, and there is a market for it, whether he keeps it open or not. But there are people who are looking at for a number of different uses, whether it be a hotel, whether they're looking at it at some type of rent-stabilized housing, low-income housing. There's a tremendous amount. It was just done up there in West Palm Beach. They used a building like this. They took a hotel and reutilized it, and they paid more per room than what this is per room on this here. So it's up to you. We've negotiated in good faith. We've shown an appraisal. We've looked at your appraisal. And again, I understand the $3 million, but that was, the appraisals were done after that and not figuring that in. Again, you know, I don't want to use the term fire sale, but there are people out there. It is a valuable piece of property. I would ask you, how many pieces are there in 95 that would be available by a major exit there, like Boynton Beach? It is a very desirable property, and it's up to you. It's your choice. I understand too that there's been some talk about the parcel next to it getting quite a.
Well, we don't have to go into that just yet.
Okay,
I'm gonna ask you to pause on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not something that we're gonna go there yet. But did you share with the board the other offers that he sent us, that we received?
Everything that was presented by them was given to the board separately.
Right. It wouldn't have been signed unless it was executed, but I guess my biggest thing here is, you know, we're sitting on land next north and south that was literally given away for $20, and it was sold for $46 million, and here we can actually change the gateway into our city, and when we're sitting here doing this. But it's, I guess, you know, the fact that I live in the neighborhood and I'm you know, we've suffered from not having law enforcement because of this establishment is very disturbing. And it's an embarrassment coming off 95. So did you want to say something, Board Member Hay?
I want to listen to what he has to say, and then I'll speak.
Wouldn't we do
We have
public?
one
Okay.
more.
What about you?
Yes, when we discuss fiscal responsibility, for me, this is my backyard as it is the mayor. And I can tell you, my constituency does not want to see another high-rise. They don't want to see more low-income housing in their backyard. They don't want to see the increased density. They don't want to see the city have to tack on more firemen and women, more police officers, more public works employees, more services that are going to be needed to cover if this project does become a super dense project. And it can, because of Live Local. We've seen that happening all throughout the county and the state. So I definitely agree with Board Member Kelly's sentiment on the cost. I understand, right? But if you look at this from a business perspective, right, sometimes you got to spend money to make a little money, right? In the sense of what the ROI could be and how this could really amplify not just the gateway to our city, but the downtown, right? Because if it's going to be another high-rise or another super dense 60, 70 unit per acre or whatever the highest density is within 1 mile I'm going to tell you, that's not what the residents in my district want. And this is my neighborhood, this is their neighborhood, this is their backyard. What people want to see is more things to do, more things that they can bring their kids to. And we have the opportunity to man that control and decide what goes there. And so, yes, I can agree it's too expensive, but what's the cost? Either way, we're going to pay for it. It becomes a super dense project and services later down the road, or we can take control and we have the ability to decide what goes there, right? And we can do a financial study on what would be the best use. We can do, a whole analysis on how we can fit this towards the downtown. So for me, it's the opportunity, and as Board Member Hayes said, you control that parcel, and we decide what we want to move forward with it versus a Live Local project. So I'm going to stand by my constituency. They do not want to see another Live Local project there, and that's the only way this project is going to sell for whatever cost they're trying to get. You're going to have to build something dense there to get your return on investment.
And quickly, in your opinion, Tim, there are grants out there to help us with some of the cost on the demo and things, correct? We'd have a very strong chance of getting, which would bring this down.
We have an opportunity to apply, and there would be a good chance that we would have money to associate towards the demo. You're correct.
Sorry,
I was-
you go first.
Let me understand. I believe I heard the appraised value was 8.1.
The original appraisal that the CRA paid for, it was 8.5 million.
8.5.
A subsequent appraisal that was performed, and he's correct to this effect, was around 8.2 million by a different appraisal company.
After
Okay.
the FDOT.
Yeah, both of them after the FDOT.
So we'll be-
And they also separated the value of the land versus the structure. And I believe somebody aptly pointed out, it was like 5.5 to 6 million for the land, and it was around 2.5 to 3 for the building.
Okay. My thing is that, it's more than just a District 3 call. This is a city call, which I really agree with what is being said. But when we look at this, we bought over appraisal value on several times in the history of our city. And I look at this as being putting us in the driver's seat to take control of an eyesore, all of the lists that we've named up here. That's what that area is. And for us to be able to move forward with what we see as Boynton being, the city of choice, this is an opportunity for us to determine what is it that we want on that corner. If we don't want another 14-story building, then we have that ability to have some bite on that apple, okay? But by the same token, I believe that if another developer comes in here and buys this property, they can do whatever they want. If they want to put another 14-story building because it's within the 1 mile radius of what's on Federal Highway, they can do that, okay? And the only thing we could do up here is say, no, you can't do that, and turn out and get ourselves sued, and they still build it. So I think here is an opportunity for us to look at this, even though all the pieces to the puzzle are not exactly there yet where we want them. I think there's enough of the puzzle there that we can see the picture long term. And so I'm going to stick to my position, and I say that we move forward with this project.
To reiterate what was stated earlier, I do support the purchase of the inn. What I'm saying is I think the amount is too high. The information that was brought in by staff a few minutes ago, that we can apply to grants to potentially get funding to tear it down. I do want to get an agreement from the board that that is going to be our will.
Yes.
Because
Down.
as you know, it's about 5 million for the land and then about 2+ million for the actual building, which to us, the building, I hate to say the word, but it's trash. So we obviously need to tear that down. So with that understanding, and if we have consensus that that's the intent to purchase it, and also we have consensus that we're gonna apply to a grant to get funding to tear it down and not have to come out of pocket for that as well, that would indirectly reduce the price of the property, and that would make it more palatable for me.
Agree.
Agreed.
And I think that one thing that we just need to remember here is there's a highest and best use. And if somebody comes in and they want to put something there that we don't like, and it's going to be ugly and things, we're going to really regret this decision of what we're doing, because we can control the highest and the best use and the
Exactly.
potential and the revenue that we get from this project later on. So are we ready for public comment on this?
Yes.
Sir?
Just
Thank you.
Go.
Go ahead, Tim.
Just 1 second. Just in regards to the demo, we did get some estimates on how much it would be. And we did get it around the 400,000, but we got it all up to 1.2, and there's high variability depending on what type of materials could be recycled that may not have been on the higher end. As I do bring up the fact of there being grants available, but there's no guarantee of them, so I just wanted to temper expectations. As in the dollar value of the 400,000, we might be able to get a part of that, but it would nowhere near be the full amount.
Right. And we also have to take into consideration that that's the building and not the parking lot, and the parking lot would increase it. And in my opinion, if a developer's going to come along and want to build there, they need to deal with the parking lot.
Okay.
So you're up, sir.
David Katz, Boynton Beach. I think Commissioner Turkin and I had a Vulcan mind meld about what he said, so I'm not going to go any further than that. I watched the negotiation meeting. The mayor did a great job, and I think that, you know, we just have to maybe possibly on this one take it on the chin for what I would call the greater good. You don't want the live local, and there isn't a member here as a member of the commission or the CRA board who hasn't ranted and raved against live local. We've had people come here. You've had former Commissioner, State Rep Casello and Lori Berman come here, rant and rave about live local. And if this doesn't get purchased, you're going to have something, I don't know about 14 stories, but at least something that'll be 8 or 10, and you're going to have live local all over again. And I can tell you that that's what will happen. It's time to buy it, control it, and make the right decision tonight. Thank you.
Are there any other public comment, people that would like to come up and speak before we close public comment? Anyone online? Okay, public comment is now closed. If there's no other comments from my colleagues, would anyone like more discussion or to make a motion?
Motion to approve, motion to execute the purchase and sale agreement of the Boynton Inn with the purchase price negotiated at the chair's meeting. 8.1 million.
I second that.
Does that work, Catherine?
That is the
Okay.
8.1.
Yes. Okay, so we have a motion to execute the contract for purchase of the Boynton Inn at 8.1 million. Commissioner Turkin made the motion.
With the contingency, if I may add, with the contingency that it'll be torn down.
Oh,
that's-
immediately, yes.
Tomorrow.
And we have a second from Board Member Hay. All of
I'll
those.
be there with a shovel.
Right, me too. I'll be there with bells on. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All of those that say nay.
Nay.
The motion, Commissioner Cruz, you are, okay, so motion passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item for discussion and consideration is a presentation regarding the CRA property located at 211 Ocean Avenue, which we tabled on July 8th, 2025.
Real quick.
Yes.
Sorry. I just for my colleagues, I was very clear on why I did not support that. However, I do support it being torn down and, ASAP, I do support, and I understand my colleagues, I could not. And so but I support this going away. I support my board members. I just wanted to make.
Well, we hope you're out there for the tear down, because we're
Of
going to be throwing a
course.
party. Next item for discussion is the presentation regarding the CRA and property located at 211 East Ocean Avenue, tabled on July 8th. Again, this is the Magnuson House. Do we want to keep talking about the Magnuson House, or? Yeah, is
You-
there
you
anything, is there
tabled it,
anything
so-
new? I mean, do we want to table it?
No,
We're still-
it's basically.
Respectfully, I
we need to
apologize.
state
Can you
it.
please remove it from the table before discussion?
Oh,
Thank you.
Motion to
Do I have a
remove
motion
for
to
the,
remove?
or can we
Second.
just, okay.
We want to just leave it tabled?
If we,
I'm not entertaining that motion.
untable it.
Correct.
Great, so leave it tabled.
Well, there's already a motion
I
made and
think,
there's
I
a
think there
second.
was just a comment to even have the discussion at all. We don't have to remove it in, like,
Well,
More like a
Catherine
Oh, we
just
have
asked
to
us
have a
not-
discussion.
To not talk about it until we remove it from the table.
You can talk about whether or not you'd like to remove it from the
Right.
table,
Right.
but any
Table
other
it or
discussion,
not.
please wait until
Okay.
you remove it from the table.
not
Thank you.
looking forward to removing it from the table.
Okay.
So we want to keep it tabled?
Yep.
Do we need to do anything after that? Nope. Keep it tabled.
Okay, we will leave it tabled until the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Keep it table.
Okay, next item for discussion and consideration is the update on recruitment of executive director candidate by S. Renee Narlock and Associates. Mr. Tack, do you want to open up this item?
Absolutely. Back in June, the board was provided a recommended candidates booklet from S. Renee Narlock Associates, which recommended 4 candidates out of 28 applicants that applied. 2 of the applicants have subsequently, they rescinded their interest, and all interviews have been conducted by the board members, and this is for your discussion on the selection of a potential candidate for the executive director. We have Renee available for any questions that you may have.
Any comments by my colleagues or questions?
I had 2 very good interviews with the remaining candidates. I thought they were both very qualified, and one stood out to me as somebody who I thought could really come in and with the connections and the knowledge that they had, could really come in and work with the city. You know, I have been speaking collaboration for, gosh, as long as I've been sitting up here, between the CRA and the city on, really working together. And I found that one of the candidates really, I'm glad we finally went the headhunter route, because I feel like they really took all of what we had been looking for and wanting in potential candidates. And so I am in a position where I think, I would be willing to entertain, an offer to one of the candidates, but that's my position.
Anyone else before I go? Please.
Thank you, Board Chair. I also had 2 very good interviews with the candidates. I think they both had, very much relevant experience, decades and decades of experience, both in the private as well as the public sector, experience within CRAs, development, economic development, and things of that nature. So I do think that at least one of them has, maybe not the same as, in my personal opinion, who we used to have, but, very good experience and very much relevant experience that could be a positive to leading the CRA.
Anyone else?
I'll go last.
Okay. Do you have any comments?
I did have the opportunity to interview both candidates, and again, as has been said, I think either one of them could do the job. However, I do have a choice between the 2, which I will not disclose at this point. But I'm ready to move forward with the 2 names. How are we going to?
I as well had the interviews. Are you done? Do you want me to, are you finished? Go ahead.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Are we going to vote tonight? Are we going to?
I hope not.
We're not going to vote tonight, are we?
I don't know. I mean, I interviewed both of the candidates as well, and I saw the potential in one of them, but I think when you drive to both of those cities, they're not similar in the challenges that we have. They don't have the redevelopment issues that we have. Yeah, they have experience, but some of the things that they've done one of them was very dated, decades and decades ago. So one of them did not have grant writing experience, and the other one did. So I think that either way, we need maybe a little deeper dive on the situation if we were even going to consider either one of them, but I wasn't comfortable with either one of them. You're up.
Yeah, 2 great candidates, a lot of good conversation. We've been at this, since, I think, like September, maybe. I don't want to rule out other options. I do want to see what a potential RFP could look like. You know, this is a pivotal moment for the CRA. We're managing significant public investments, especially in land acquisitions, as we know. Evaluating an RFP, as I mentioned, to an outside firm that could potentially manage the agency, while simultaneously finalizing the selection process of a new executive director. It's critical that we approach this with complete attention to detail, fairness, and accountability. And most importantly, collaboration and cohesion. Given the uncertainty and the involvement of internal staff in both processes, and considering that the RFP, if this board decides to move forward with that option, could potentially reshape the CRA structure. We must eliminate any perception of influence and ensure neutrality, stability, and proper oversight. And so, you know, we look at, you know, we just entered a negotiation with the Boynton Inn or the purchase and sale agreement. We have other land acquisitions that we're looking at. We, you know, I've spoken many times about joint meetings since May. That hasn't been happening. And, you know, I want to ensure that we have neutrality, stability, proper oversight. And, you know, I'd like to propose temporarily appointing City Manager Dan Duggar as the interim CRA director. I've spoken to him, and he is willing to accept this challenge. His leadership will help safeguard the integrity of both the remainder of the search and the RFP, but most importantly, build familiarity with and cohesive relationship between the city and the CRA as we move forward. Tim, you've stepped up when you were called upon, and I greatly appreciate that over the last 20 months. Your staff needed you, you know, tremendously, and you were the leader that you needed to be for them, and it's deeply appreciated. But at this point, I think it's fair to allow you to return your focus on the responsibilities that you originally accepted for your position and relieve you of all the burden of the dual roles. And I look forward to continuing working closely with you in your capacity, and I hope my colleagues will join me in this proposal as we move forward, because I'm not yet sold on the candidates, and I would like to look at an RFP and what other management opportunities we have, especially if there's concern that we might be handcuffed with how we can utilize and spend our CRA dollars because of Tallahassee's initiative to eliminate and mitigate what CRAs can do. The city will then have to essentially absorb what programs and impact the community has. So, you know, I'd like to throw that in for discussion and see what my colleagues think about that as we move forward.
Please.
There's a reason why the city and the CRA are two separate entities. And for the existence of the last 100 years in the city of Boynton Beach, and for the time that the CRA has existed, we have worked together, but it's separate governmental agencies with different purposes, but also aligned purposes. I'm a little shocked about what I'm hearing, but at the same time, you know, I have to say that being the city manager is a big job, and there's a lot to do in the city right now. And I think that that's a big enough job in itself. I think that the CRA has to have its own leader, as it has been the case for a very long time. And, you know, I do have concerns with what was brought up, never really crossed my mind. But yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna start. It's, yeah, definitely something that we should very carefully consider. The city is very busy. We have a lot of amazing changes happening. A lot of good things are happening in the city right now. And it is a big, big job. And I think that it's important for the person who's running the CRA to be able to have the time to dedicate to the CRA. I do not agree with the fact that we have had issues with the budget. We discussed the budget earlier in this meeting today, and I can go back and read the list, but it's a pretty extensive list that shows us how many positions the CRA is funding to really support initiatives that are going to benefit the city. So that's what I'm going to say for now. Thank you.
You know, the one applicant is looking for a job because that's exactly what that municipality did, was moved it under the city. The other applicant was looking because they're going to sunset that CRA. So, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, this did just happen in Boca as well, I believe, within the last year, that they did the same situation. Do I agree with this as a permanent situation? I do not. But as I do agree with you, Board Member Turkin, as a interim situation, especially to oversee if we are able to go to an RFP process and make sure that we are vetting the best talent that we can out there, instead of picking these two candidates that we've been looking for 24 months, that both are essentially not going to have jobs where they are. And, you know, there are companies out there that have proven track records of this, with the historical experience, with the grant writing experience, that cost a lot less money, and that can be discussed later. But to make a decision tonight on these candidates does make me a little uncomfortable. Go for it.
Well, we've looked at trying to get an executive director here for the CRA for quite some time. We tried it internally, that didn't work. We tried the headhunter, that didn't work. And now we're talking about maybe an RFP. It just sounds like the idea executive director for the CRA of Boynton Beach doesn't exist. I do believe that an independent board, I've been talking about for a long time, and the city and the CRA should be separate until such time as it sunsets. Then you have no choice. But as far as the city manager taking over the CRA, I do not agree with that. I feel that Tim has done an outstanding job, but it had nothing to do with that. I just don't think that's a good marriage at all. I think the city manager should be focusing and concentrating on city affairs and not CRA, because I was the one that said from the beginning, and I'm willing to stand up for what I said. I didn't think the city manager was qualified in the beginning to run the city. He has gone to school, he has learned more, and he's improving. Is he there totally yet? No. And now you're talking about trying to put the operation of a CRA on top of all of that. You're going to run the man crazy.
I mean,
But
I guess.
I just feel, and I can have my speak, okay, just like everybody else, is that to talk about the city manager taking over the CRA is not a good idea. If anything, we should have an independent board or a hybrid for that. So I'm going to end this right now, and I'm going to have more to say later, but at this stage of the game, I do not agree with the suggestion that's been made that the city manager step in and take over the CRA.
Interim.
Yeah,
Interim
temporary.
is for clarification.
But even if he comes in as an interim, we already have an interim. Are you saying that the current interim is not doing a good enough job for you? I mean, you don't have to answer that, but I don't agree with the suggestion or the recommendation or the discussion or whatever we call ourselves having right now of the city manager taking over the CRA, period.
Can I make one last comment?
Please.
Okay. All right, so again, I see the city and the CRA as two separate governmental agencies. I think that the way that the city is being run right now is very positive, and there are very good things happening on the city side. We have a lot of great projects coming up, and we have a lot of new positions to be filled, a lot of beautification, and just a lot going on in the city. I think that with the CRA and, you know, going back in history, a couple years ago, we haven't been able to find a replacement, but remembering the day where we had a change in our CRA, that day, Tim was very afraid to accept the acting position because of the politics behind it. So I just want to remind everybody that it was a challenge for him to even accept that position, and he has taken the lead and allowed us not only to survive, but to thrive in the last 2 years, and to continue to unite the staff within the CRA and to keep the morale in a positive place, where I don't think that anybody walking into that position at that point could have done. So I do want to, for the record, say that, Tim, you've done an incredible job. I'm very proud of you. You've done a fantastic job here at the CRA, and with regard to making changes or the possibility of looking at an RFP, I'm not opposed to seeing what options there are. However, I believe that we need to cross that bridge when we get there, and seeing the options as they come and evaluating those options in front of us at that point. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Chair, if I could.
Please.
Gosh, this is a loaded conversation. We have been at this for a very long time, and I personally do not feel like we are making a decision just to make a decision and because there's a person. Because we have been through the process. Although I am open to an RFP for maybe certain projects or certain maybe initiatives, I struggle with an RFP for an entire executive director position because I don't see how financially it makes sense. We have had, an outside firm as our law firm, and we know what we pay them, and it's not going to be the executive director salary capped. So I'm struggling with opening this up to we have, in my opinion, and I've been through all the interview processes, we have a person, one of the persons in particular, who, although their CRA is structured where they're not permitted to have as much growth opportunity because of the funding that they receive, because they're in a different county and set up differently. But I think that the connections and the abilities that they have would serve our CRA. And so although I am open to looking at RFPs for a company that could come in and maybe assist with various projects, as I know we can control the scope of what we ask for, whether that be, hey, we want to focus, we want to see what you have to say about federal highway, or we want to see, we just spent $1 million or $8 million on the inn. We would love to get some insight from a company to come in and really give us some options as far as what our focus could be on that area. But I don't want to lose the opportunity to get someone in who I feel is a quality and a qualified candidate. And I know, Chair, you mentioned that, one of the candidates, their CRA is sunsetting in a couple of years. I think it's 3 years from now. So although they don't need the job today, they would be looking for a job eventually. And I had long conversations with this person about why they felt like Boynton Beach was a good fit for them. And they thought with the growth that is happening, the ability, the funding mechanism that we have here at our CRA is way different than most other CRAs. We are lucky that we get such an amount of money from TIF to work with, that they were looking forward to having the ability to actually do more in collaborating with the city and doing more projects and really, seeing what is out there and what's in the future for Boynton Beach. So although I'm open to looking at the RFP options and having a conversation, I am hesitant to say that that should be our executive director role, because I feel like if that's a temporary solution, then we're starting the process of then looking for another executive director all over again. And we've been doing this, we did it independently. We've done it independently twice. And now we brought a recruiter in who provided us with quality candidates. And so I stand by my position that I think that one of these candidates, I don't know if I don't know where this is going. I would be happy to tell you who I feel like would be a good fit for our CRA, but that is my position. I feel like a company could come in and assist us with certain projects, but I do not like the idea of them coming in as the executive director role that's meant to just be temporary, because then we're starting a process all over again that we've been doing now for 2 years. So that's my position on that. I haven't really had, Board Member Turkin, to your point about the city manager, I haven't really had conversations with him about this, and I would want to speak to him because I don't really understand the interim role, because, we do have an interim. I have been talking about collaboration, though, forever, and I think, Tim, we're finally getting somewhere with some collaboration with the city. And so I would have more conversations with the city manager about this. I haven't really had conversations with him, and but that's my position. I feel like we have a candidate who really I feel would fit in. I know that the candidates all spoke with staff, and staff had good feedback too. So, but those are that's my opinion on this matter.
Any other comments? Questions? Any public comment? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Mildred Hay. I come to all the CRA meetings. I come to all the city meetings. I was here the evening that tweet was unmercifully let go. And I'm going to tell you that whole process, if I were looking for a job as executive director of Boynton Beach, I would watch that meeting. Because when a person comes and applies for a job, they're looking for confidence that the job is going to be honest and open and not have to be fearful of getting let go for no reason. When she was superb at her job, got all kinds of awards and recognition for it. I sat here and watched people just slowly fire her without cause. Took a break while that was being done. I sat here and watched that. I don't normally say anything up here, but why would a person come and get a job here with that kind of reputation? Tim didn't take the job. He needs, just like all of you that work, need to be confident that the job is going to be there. You don't have to worry about your job every time you have a meeting. Somebody talks to somebody and they decide, heck with the sunshine law, and decide that that person has got to go for whatever reason, not related to the job. Her reputation is impeccable. She has a job. Now, she didn't have to wait for one. Nothing was wrong with Tweet. But the night that happened set a standard for Boynton that was not good. I wouldn't want to apply for a job here with those kind of circumstances and people that think and do those kind of things to another human being. So maybe that's why nobody will take this job. But you gotta treat people right. You wanna be treated right, so does everybody else. Be fair to folk. I'm not telling you something that I guess. I watched it. It was the most painful thing I'd ever seen. Tweet went and got an award for Boynton complex over there on 10th Avenue. And she paid her own money to go. And she cried while she was standing there. I watched this. That was just wrong. I know my time is up. Think. Hire somebody with intent of not just tossing them out like that. And when you're trying to hire somebody to come in, they know about what happened.
Thank you. Any other public comment? So I think we're pretty divided up here on this issue. I still would love to be able to go to the RFP process and be able to vet firms that have proven track records of success on redevelopment and historical and grants and all of these other things. And, you know, I'm the new kid on the block, so I don't know really what happened in that case, but Tim, you know, you technically don't want the full ED job, right? Like, you've been the interim for this long, but you don't want it, or like, what's the deal there? Can somebody?
Well, we have great staff, if you haven't noticed.
Right.
They're great people. They're, as I explained it before, this position has requirements above and beyond a 8 to 5 job.
Right.
And in my position, my station in life right now, that is not something that I have the ability to serve at the pleasure of a board.
Got it.
And give it its full that it deserves.
Got it.
So.
And I agree, the staff is amazing. All of you are amazing. And I don't know if there's people that feel threatened that if we were to bring in an outside source, that all of a sudden everybody would lose their jobs. That is not the case at all. It just might be a new, fresh approach because we've been doing this over and over again of looking for an executive director, and we're not getting good talent. We're getting mediocre, or maybe this person is going to work, and maybe this is something that we postpone again and allow the board to really do more research on municipalities that have a proven track record of success and be able to ask these firms these questions and see who even applies for it in the RFP. There's RFPs that have been put out there in other neighboring cities that we could mirror off of. And if we're not happy with them, then we're right back to square one. But it would be great to vet all of the options. Any other comments?
Well, I will say this, that all of the objections that each of us have stated, they should be listed. And if we go with the headhunter again, or if that person doesn't have the criteria which was established here from this board, then that name should not even be brought to us. Okay? So I'm hoping and thinking that that list existed. They had something to measure the candidate by. So why would they pick these candidates which not meeting our standards at this point of the game in the first place? So I'm saying I'm not sure which way you're going to vote here. But I am saying if you do go with the headhunt again and look for more candidates, that we make it clear on what we're looking for. And if we don't get that person, then don't let that be one of the names brought to this board.
Well, I think it's pretty easy that people can put anything on paper and then you interview them and they're the right or the wrong choice. And I'm just saying my opinion, but as a headhunter, it's been how many months? So I think that we were brought the best that was there. Doesn't mean they're the best for the job. We can't rely on the headhunter to say, well, these are the best and most qualified people, and we vetted them, and you should accept them. It's up to us to say what we expect out of this position. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, if I had to nail down one candidate, because I think we're just gonna go in circles here, so I'm gonna throw a compromise and see what you guys think about it. For me, I was very impressed with both. I did look at Deerfield Beach, and I looked at Chris, and I really enjoyed my conversation with Chris. The community is similar. She's done a lot of coastal projects. So if I were to choose a candidate, it would be her. That is my thought. Mr. Chen was great. You know, it was a very easy conversation, a lot of experience, but I think looking at, I think she did two decades in Deerfield Beach or something, very similar demographic, very similar size. Our budget's significantly higher. You know, she works under the city manager now in Deerfield Beach, right? And so if I were to choose, that's who I would go for. But what I'd like to propose is us to finalize one candidate and continue looking at a potential RFP process. And then once we do that, then we choose between the two.
If I just make one comment here, I think this is probably about the second time that I've agreed with Board Member Turkey.
Second time
the
tonight.
third.
Second time tonight.
Yeah, second time tonight. And I do feel what you said is absolutely true. If I had to pick between the two, it would be Chris, because of what she expressed to me and how she answered my questions, and we won't go into that. But I'm ready to pick now, and it would be Chris. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. But if we want to pursue RFP and whatever the board wants to do, I go along with it. But I'm telling you, somewhere we're going to have to make a decision. We're going to have to bite the bullet. You're not going to find the perfect person that knows, that dots all the I's and cross all the T's.
Go ahead.
I happen to agree as well. I think that Chris Morey was a very good candidate. I think that she has a lot of relevant experience, and it's experience, as stated earlier, in a coastal area. I have seen that it's not equal to Boynton, but it does have some similarities. They've built hotels and things of that nature, and I think that's something that we're interested in doing. However, I'm not opposed to looking at a potential RFP. I think it's best to look at all possible options and choose the best option. And I think that's a good point of maybe, I agree with Board Member Turkin, where we could pick one person where we say this is our top individual candidate, and then comparing that to any other possibilities. But not leading any candidate on and saying, oh, we're choosing you, and then switching, never mind, well, now we're gonna go with a firm. So just to be fair, because I did hear concerns from some candidates with regard to what was brought up at a previous meeting with regard to an RFP, and we have to understand we're dealing with people and people's livelihoods, right, and their family. So if we're gonna make a decision at any point, I really want this to be a long-term decision that brings job security to whoever ends up being that person, so that there's no fear of the person saying, okay, well, I'm afraid to take the job, because you never know what's gonna happen. So I want to keep that in mind as we move forward.
So we're good with maybe picking a candidate, but then in the meantime, not making that official decision until we entertain the RFP options?
Can live with that.
We're going to talk about those in a few minutes,
So,
right?
okay. What do you need, Catherine?
Board Member Kelly's correct that the RFP is going to be discussed in the next item. So if you'd like to make a motion to direct legal and staff to negotiate with Chris Morey and bring you back a contract for your consideration at the next meeting, you could make that motion.
Yeah, I would say begin negotiations, but I want to discuss the RFP and then look at that process. And I want to make sure, Commissioner Cruz, Board Member Cruz was right. Like, I think we communicate this to Chris, hey, this isn't a final decision. You are the top candidate by consensus of the board. But for me, you're the top candidate in addition, I want to continue the RFP process, is what I'm understanding there's consensus of.
Sorry. Why don't we bring both at the same time? You know, I don't.
Why
I
don't we do the RFP and have
Correct.
people come in and all the companies bring the
Correct.
presentation and she does and we all do this in an open forum and we can see what
Exactly.
people are made of.
I think it's in our best interest for time-wise and for efficiency to have the entire menu on the table, the entire buffet, and then you get to pick what it is that you want. Because, you know, if we're looking at the appetizer and then we're looking at the entree later, it's like, no, we want to
Right.
make sure that we're looking at everything in a holistic manner at the same time, and we make a decision whenever we get to it. But I would suggest that we give a reasonable and fair amount of time for an RFP to see what is out there, and for the board to evaluate that as well, while we have those conversations with the top candidate. And then we bring them all up at the same meeting for discussion.
And I have one question. Would the RFP is open to an applicant and a firm, or just, right, is it written that way, that it's both?
The RFP would have to have certain requirements for insurance. Other requirements is a consultant would have to provide. So if an individual would have to be insured and they have to meet the requirements as well as any consulting firm.
So what's it written as now, the draft of the RFP? Is it just for firms?
It is
Okay.
currently associated for firms.
Okay,
as a
and then
consultant.
and the headhunter, if somebody else potential, she
But
could
certainly an
still send it.
individual could act in behalf as a consultant and, yeah.
Look, I'm open to, I just didn't know what it was, if it's both or not, but I wanted to make sure firms were included since we've been dealing with individuals.
My concern with that, and I understand the want to, you know, have a mixed bag, is the timing. Because an RFP process, I mean, I'm looking at the proposal, it wouldn't even go out for a month. And then
wasn't
the
it
due date
21
is a
days?
month.
By
So
the
if
next
that.
meeting.
It's 21 days, right?
No, it's after, the due date is after our September meeting, so then we wouldn't even talk about it till October. And if I was applying for a job and you told me, oh, I'm gonna leave you hanging, and I don't know who else she's applied to, I don't know what, so I do not want to say, hey, we really like you and we think you're a great candidate. I really liked Chris Morey. I think she would fit in really well with staff. I think she would fit in really well with city staff. We had a lot of conversations about collaboration and working with the city, and she meets on a regular basis with city staff and with CRA staff to make sure that they're collaborating on projects. What I don't want to happen is that we say, hey, we really like you, and we want you to take this, you know, but we want to keep our options open, and we want to do this RFP. I mean, my research in this RFP and bringing an executive director is that comes at a cost, and it's not going to be equal to, and this RFP says for a one-year term with 2 additional one-year renewals. That's a 3-year contract that we're looking at that is going to cost the CRA a lot of money. So we're talking about fiscally responsible. I like the idea of an RFP for certain projects, but as an executive director position, I think it's outside of, we're biting off a lot. But I
Point of
really,
order. Let's focus on the candidate right now, and then we'll jump into the RFP discussion, because we're discussing that either way.
right, but you melded them together by saying we would,
So I'll make a motion to negotiate a contract with Chris Morey.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to negotiate with Executive Director applicant Chris Morey, made by Board Member Turkin, and a second by Board Member Hay. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay. Motion passes 4-1. Next item for discussion and consideration is discussion and consideration of requests for proposals for CRA Executive Director Services. Mr. Tack, would you like to open up this item?
Yes, at the July 8th board meeting, staff was directed to draft a request for proposals to qualified parties for CRA Executive Director Services. The RFP would solicit services of a consulting firm to provide executive directive services to the CRA for a period of 1 year with the option of 2 additional 1-year renewals, which is obviously up to the board's consideration, these terms, as you would direct us. The executive director services will include an executive director position to serve as a full-time in-house consultant that will manage the day-to-day operations of the CRA. The executive director, as you all know, is a highly responsible position that oversees a wide variety of redevelopment, economic development activities that include fiscal operations, policy implementation, property acquisition, business incentives, new business development, business attraction and retention, among other things, as well as supervising 8 full-time employees as the CRA staff. The way that the draft before you is proposed, there would be an evaluation based upon certain key categories that would be weighted. The CRA board would serve as the selection committee. You would rate based upon a firm's qualifications, qualifications of the project team, approach and demonstrated skill set and creativity and innovative ideas that would be used as part of the scope of work. References of past performance and price. These are recommended by staff as the criteria, but you have full ability to change those weightings as you would see fit. The CRA board would first score the proposals on their technical merit, 1 through 4, and then the price proposal then would be evaluated using a formula wherein the lowest price proposal receives a score of 30. The price proposal score will then be added to the technical score to reach the final score. So based according to this, it mirrors kind of a CCNA, which would be more of an RFQ, but since there is a price is attached to this, it is actually would be solicited as an RFP. So a draft proposal has been provided for your consideration.
And what did you base that draft proposal on?
That draft proposal, this was we had used something similar as our auditor, so that was very similar to that. But also by the same token, the category was based upon, as I said, request for qualifications per CCNA, less the local preference.
Okay.
But again, these are all criteria that you could change to see how
Right.
you see fit. You could
Okay.
weigh it how you see fit. The terms, you could
Yeah.
change that
I mean,
to
I
how
think
you
it should
see
be a
fit.
2-year term with 1
And you
year
could also
extensions.
limit the scope based upon that. I was looking under the understanding that you would have a person come in and run the day-to-day operations. But again, you have full ability to decide what that scope would look like.
And is that something from now until, do you individually talk to all of us to mold this RFP with our edits, or when do we give you the feedback on this RFP?
I was hoping we could get feedback tonight.
Yeah, so the board would provide feedback to us tonight, and then if you wanted, you could either direct for staff and legal to bring it back the next meeting for your final sign-off, or you could direct it to issue it as long as we conform it to your direction. And as Tim said, every aspect of this is open for your adjustment, so even including the amount of time that it is let for, you can certainly shorten that amount of time. You can alter the scope, you can alter the criteria, you can alter the weighting. It really is up to you. It's the draft is here for you to work with and direct us accordingly.
Well, I do have a suggestion of a 2-year term and then one-year extension for 3 years, not the 1-year term. But I do think it's good for us to do an RFP process so we can see what other talent is out there and numbers and other successful municipalities, but
The only reason that we drafted it this way, because it would be in line with how you actually, every year you renew the executive director and evaluate an executive director, so we were just trying to keep it in
Yeah.
line with.
I mean, when I did my research on the other RFPs for the one that West Palm used, it had some different terms in it too, so. And I did send that over for review. I don't know if anyone else has looked at any of those other ones, but I did send it over to them. So if you're allowed to share that with the board, and maybe this is something that we table at the moment and be able to all chime in on what we believe this RFP should be, but I'm open to suggestions here.
Did you have any specifics you wanted to
The,
add
the,
or remove?
the terms, and let me pull up my notes. Did anybody else have any comments?
No, I made my comments known at the earlier agenda item.
We can, if you want, we can allow public comment while you're looking through that, and then we can make final comments.
Also, just for your understanding, we would be looking, if you gave the go-ahead to issue this, we were looking at August 15th publishing. It would be a 30-day advertisement period, and then we would come back, solicit those proposals, or provide those proposals to you for your ranking and consideration.
That would happen right after the September collection. How far after the September collection would that be available?
I think
So again, so you all are able to adjust that. So if you wanted it to be prior to your next meeting, you are able to do a shorter one. It depends on the answers we get. Staff and legal will work to turn it around quickly. It's, probably more than a 4-hour effort, right, for us to receive them and spit them back to you with any kind of reasonable analysis. But we'll work within whatever timeframes you as the board prescribe.
Is there an option, Catherine, because I've made my point known, I don't like the idea of a proposal for a full executive director to do the day-to-day, because I think that we are better suited with having an actual person who's committed to the CRA in the city. But is there an option, or what is the option if we wanted to scope out various, different portions, I guess is my question, because one of my point was, if we have a project, what I've seen when I did some research is that although the companies have provided executive director services on a temporary basis, most of the time they're brought in to do specific projects, or let's say the CRA plan, or a district, or some, a little bit like a commercial area or industrial area or office area, office space, so what do we have options when it comes to this RFP, or is it, we would have to then issue it separately?
So you absolutely have options to issue RFPs for whatever projects you would like, and it can look several different ways. Certainly, we've seen them done geographically, also by task. So the CRA plan example you gave is a good one. Another one might be a budgeting exercise, or this would not be applicable at this moment in the CRA, but if you were looking at an assessment, right, to bring in a firm to evaluate an assessment. So they can be done on a task-by-task basis. They may also be done on a as this one has been drafted for the entirety of management services. You can portion it as you all see fit. It really is your choice.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I could entertain maybe a temporary person to maybe assist with, if, let's say we were able to seat a new executive director, but they can't start, or then, to have that assistance. I am not in a position to necessarily say, to give you, except for the suggestions that I've made, or the points that I've made, that I don't support it being a full executive director position, because I feel like that really needs to be a little bit more personal than a company. But I could, either on a temporary basis or a project basis, would entertain that. So I don't know how that would look, and that's just I'm just one of 5, so.
certainly you could look at the job duties and the essential functions, and then you could pick what that, basically from the job description itself, and that could be a starting point.
Any comments? Board Member Hay?
Well, I go along with what Kelly is saying.
Well, the one edit I do have is that I think for the RFP, it needs to be a 2-year.
The RFP.
2-year limit with the 1-year extensions, not a 1-year.
So a total of 3.
Correct.
Got it.
Any public comment on this?
Hi, Susan Oyer. Yeah, I think we need to do an RFP. I think you guys aren't happy with what's come forward, so it doesn't hurt to go check it out and see what else is available. And I know as from the city, from a resident perspective, maybe there's a better cost savings to hire a company versus, having multiple staff that get huge raises every year. I mean, I don't know, I obviously don't look at it this closely, but I really think the RFP is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there any way we could do a special meeting on this to move things along faster for a presentation from companies and instead of waiting an entire month? I mean, what is it, 21-day RFP?
So right now, it's your standard amount, which is 30 days. I'm sorry, it is 30 days. You have the ability to direct us to shorten that, no problem. And also, board member, I apologize, board chair, I did want to add this earlier. The West Palm Beach scope that you sent over was largely used as a model for this, for this scoping purposes. So I meant to add that comment earlier.
Thank you.
So you absolutely can shorten the time period. You absolutely can set a special meeting. You can expand or contract the scope. It is your ball of clay.
Okay. So do anyone have any more comments, or do we have a motion that would entertain the RFP process?
I would support doing 30 days.
Okay.
I don't want to change the rules for like one
That's fine.
specific item, just keeping it.
And it gives people enough time to put together their presentation for us and make it right. Okay.
And I would just ask that staff get them to us as soon as possible so that we have them. And then, I mean, I guess if we needed to have a special meeting, we could always piggyback on the city meeting in the
Okay.
1st of October if we needed to for some
Good
reason.
idea. Okay. What would the,
What's the motion?
yeah, yes.
Consensus?
As I understand your motion, it's a motion to issue the RFP with the change that the term is for 2 years with a 1-year renewal.
So move.
Second. What about the 30 days?
That's the process. It's already in there.
That's in
That
there. And then
wouldn't
I'm going to
change.
ask you for a separate motion to allow the executive director to set a special meeting, but we'll do that after this.
Okay. So we do have a motion to approve the RFP process, or what was it again, the RFP process?
There's a motion and a second, so you can just call the vote.
Okay, so
Yep.
we have a motion from Board Member Turkin and a second from Board Member Hay. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
No.
Okay, now.
If you would
No,
like-
Oh,
it
you're
doesn't.
nay?
Yes.
Oh, 4-1, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. If you would like, this board may at this time empower the executive director to call you to a special meeting to evaluate responses you get in conjunction with your city meeting, assuming that staff can prepare in time for that.
So move.
Second.
But, yeah, is it
What-
necessary?
For your,
If needed.
If needed, she can call one. We're giving her the authority to call a special meeting.
Yeah, but we're still giving 30 days for responses to be received, right?
yeah, so if you would like, you could give the executive director the ability to call a special meeting that would allow you to, say, piggyback on your city meeting if you wanted to hear the responses sooner.
Right, because as it is, I think that what your proposal says is that the proposers would present at the October 23rd meeting, which is so far, I mean, we're now talking,
That's my birthday, we want to switch that day.
Let's have it
that's
on
our
the-
meeting, so I don't know what to tell you.
We'll bring you a cake.
August
Yeah.
23rd?
October 23rd is when they're expecting this to be before us. So what we were saying, I think you were out, what we were saying was, in order to speed this up, that we could call a special meeting, like a quick meeting
We do it
before a
like at the
board, before a
beginning,
city
before
meeting.
city- okay, 'cause
Right.
I
city
think the
meetings can be real
intention
long,
is
so we
so
do it
we're not
first.
dragging along the.
Right.
So we do it
the-
before the city
Yeah,
meeting
that's,
first.
I think that's the
meeting.
intention, is we want to be as transparent
Or we
with
could do it at
Chris.
5 o'clock.
I think we give the chair to
To call it.
to
It
call
also
it,
depends
if
on how many
needed.
applicants we have and their presentation,
Yeah.
and we just don't know that yet, so.
You can also just vote to have the special meeting. Like, you all can just decide right this moment that you'd like to have a special meeting before the city council meeting.
Right, but we don't know
We
if
don't know
it's
if
going to
it's
be
necessary.
necessary.
We don't know how many
I'm going to
applicants.
stick with my
Necessary.
point of order, call the question. We have a first, we have a second, call the vote, Mayor.
Apologies, you do need comment.
Public
Public
comment?
comment.
Anyone? Anyone? I feel like saying Bueller after that.
Bueller.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor of possibly calling a a special meeting, say aye.
If needed.
If needed.
Yes.
Aye.
Say
Aye.
So is that all all four? Okay.
Okay, and we can
Motion
take by,
passes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Motion
We'll take by
passes.
consensus your, the adjustments to the schedule as necessary. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we are good to move on? Bailey, you good on all that? I had a feeling.
Can you just clarify who motioned and who second?
I made the motion.
Motion, and Woodruff made.
Commissioner Kelly
Oh,
made the second.
Okay. Okay, the next item for discussion and consideration is the discussion and consideration of the purchase of 670 Oak.
We're on B.
Oh, wait.
Sorry, we're on the
Oh, yeah,
marina
sorry.
lease agreement.
Next item for discussion and consideration is the consideration of marina lease agreements for fiscal year 2025 to 2027. CRA staff, can you present this item?
We will have Brian Smith, who is available to present this before the board.
Good evening, Board. Brian Smith, manager of the Boynton Harbor Marina. The next two-year contract is up, or is on your schedule tonight. We are at $20 per foot for all your tenants, your commercial tenants. I did a rate study of area marinas with similar, commercial boats as yours. And in the years past, we've pretty much kept it at this rate, which is less than some of the other municipal marinas, say in the West Palm area. And so it's obviously up to the board if you'd like to keep it at the 20, or if you would like to look at, going up or doing anything with the rates.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and say this. I don't want to touch these rates because we might be replacing that seawall. And can you imagine being a local business owner and you get hiked up double with this comparison, then you get kicked out because we're repairing a wall? Absolutely not. When we redo the wall and we find them a home and then they come back, yes, maybe we can look at that. But right now, I want to keep it at what it is. I don't think that's fair. And, the only thing, Brian, is when we're looking at filling these leases, are we giving priority for local business owners? Like a local vendor, or like a local vendor preference? Because if not, then I would like to add that into, I don't know if there's a specific policy for this, I know you manage it, but I would like to propose looking at local Boynton business owners or residents to be prioritized as we fill these leases. I think that's fair.
That's certainly fine with me. Normally, I have a wait list of 10 businesses right now, and we look at, operationally, do they fit? If we already have a number of those uses, and a lot of our guys do come locally, but we could certainly consider that in the future.
Yeah, I would like to, I'd like to consider that moving forward, because we preach about this on the city side all the time. So I think we should do the same on the CRA side. We should give local preference, local businesses, local residents to, to achieve these slips because it's so competitive. We want to invest in our local business owners. That's the whole, that's what we do as part of the CRA is, economic growth from within, not from external. So I'd like to propose keeping it the same and then also prioritizing and maybe creating a policy or, I don't know what type of legal framework we need, that we are prioritizing local business owners and residents to fill those slips.
Any other comments?
That's it.
No, I support you, Board Member Turkin, and I'm glad that you brought up the point about the seawall, because I think we've looked at it on the budget line item for so long and are not really realizing that that's going to happen soon, and that it is going to require some shift of the boats and some planning. So I don't want to to raise this now when they're likely going to have to incur some additional costs when they have to find a new spot or something. So I want to make sure that we're being, responsible to them too. And then we can reevaluate it once the seawall is done. And, we have a wait list because our rates are the lowest. So we have to recognize that too, that, we are, the lowest. But we also have very few slips and we have a seawall that's in dire need of repair. So, so I support you, Board Member Turkey, in keeping this neutral, and then, of course, whatever we need to do to make sure that we're prioritizing local businesses. And I know we had some issues, and so, we don't have a lot of turnover, which I think is part of the issue, is that whoever's in there now is certainly not leaving at $20 a linear foot. So until that goes up, I think we won't see a lot of movement in maybe the businesses that don't need to stay in Boynton Beach, and prioritize, and then we can shift to prioritizing local businesses when we can. But I think that should definitely be a priority that we're making.
Agree. Any other comments?
That your motion?
Well,
We'd have to
I
take
mean,
public comment.
what do you, how do we establish a policy that we're, focusing on local business owners, local residents for that slip?
So that's separate than the item before you tonight. However, your dock master is here and takes your direction. I think he can probably take your direction. If you'd like for us to bring a policy back for you next meeting, we can certainly do that as well.
Yeah, I would like the direction, Brian, and then also have a policy come back if that's okay with the board.
Agree.
Sure.
The other point I'd like clarification on, there was a fuel discount that we provide. Just want to make sure that there was no changes to that as well.
No changes. Do you need a motion?
I do, simply because the leases before you do have some minor changes recommended by us as your legal staff. Happy to talk through those. They are minor changes and just clarifications. Okay, so probably the most major change is at a legal level, it's very clear that Brian had the ability to terminate leases. I think perhaps if you were a boat captain reading this, that may not have been apparent, so we just cleaned that up to make very sure that everyone understands that Brian is in fact in charge of the dock and acting on behalf of the CRA. We just laid that out a little more explicitly. And that is really the major change that was included.
Perfect.
But that's existing today.
It is
You're just cleaning up the
existing,
language.
it's existing, it is existing. We are trying to simply make clear for the folks that we are working with, who probably have not spent as much time reading legal contracts as I have.
Remind me of the issue, we had a tenant that was causing issues, I believe.
Yeah, and there was no
Came
issue in
before
that.
us.
Yes, there
So
was.
What is the difference?
There is no functional difference. The dock master has always had the ability to manage the contracts. This is simply to clarify and put in more plain English the full scope of his ability.
Right. But the approval comes before, so then why did they come before the board if Brian
public
had the
comment.
authority?
I think it was public comment that they came and
Yes, they did
spoke
not,
in.
the termination did not come before this
Okay.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was public comment on the issue. You all received it. And then the board did ratify all of Brian's actions in retrospect for that. Again, that was not something that was, it was simply to make everything clear for
Okay.
the record and for the tenant's benefit. So this is just a proactive
so-
attempt to
got it.
make it, just put it in English, really.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. Fine by me.
Motion to approve the FY 25-27 Marine Lease Agreement as edited by Lewis Longman Walker.
Second.
We have a motion from Board Member Kelly and a second from Board Member Turkin. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Now we're moving on
Brian.
to C. The next item for discussion is the discussion and consideration of the purchase of 670 Oak Street revised from August 8th, 2025. Mr. Tack?
All right, back in April, Lauren Goebel, and I apologize if I didn't say your name right, but you can correct me here shortly. A representative for the property owner reached out to the CRA to discuss the potential sale of the property located at 670 Oak Street. If you could pull up the location map, you can see it located just to the south of Harvey E. Oyer Jr. Park, separated by right-of-way. Originally, the parcel was offered at a purchase price of $6 million for the northern 0.75 acres. However, that has been revised and as presented before you. They have offered up two options, one for the entire parcel, as shown there, as 1.27 acres, and the other as the northern 0.75 acres. Okay? So the first option with the 1.27 acres is being brought before the board for discussion as a purchase price of $7 million with a deposit of $300,000 with a 60-day from the effective date of due diligence and 90 days from the effective date of the purchase and sale agreement, property to be delivered unoccupied. Or, option two, the northern portion, which would be 0.75 acres, purchase price of $4.5 million, deposit $225,000, due diligence 60 days from the effective date of the purchase sale agreement, a closing period within 120 days from the effective date of the purchase and sale agreement, and the property also to be delivered vacant. Also additional restrictions is they would like to see that this property be recreational zoning. The restrictive covenant that is currently existing for Harvey Oyer Park be also applied here with a height restriction of 2 stories, no structured parking, and no dry stack marine storage. We have the representative Lauren here to speak on behalf of the owner, as well as a representative from the city to discuss as a potential conceptual site plan on what could be, what could occur at the site. Lauren.
Good evening, Board. My name is Lauren Gable. I am a resident of Boynton Beach and represent the owners of 670 Oak Street. Just want to mention that this property has been in the same family since the 1950s, almost 150 feet of waterfront frontage on the intercoastal there, directly south of the Harvey E. Oyer Jr. Park. In line with the CRA's master plan and goals to increase the residents' access to the waterfront, thought that it was a great opportunity for the city to consider the purchase of this property, and here to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Would you mind if we show you the conceptual?
Didn't even see you standing there, sorry.
Vicki, would you mind pulling up the conceptual as the attachment?
It's number 5.
Okay. Thank you for having me. Andrew Mack, Deputy City Manager. The city got involved, I think around May. We got involved in this project, and when we first looked at it, we did a conceptual drawing, which was a little different than this, which kind of spooked the seller. We showed some structured parking and just a massing drawing that we could do to see what could fit. Since that time, we went back to the drawing board and revised it a little bit just to kind of give a little bit smaller scale to see what could be done there. Again, what you're looking at is a conceptual drawing. This is not an engineered drawing. This is not a done deal. There still needs a lot of work here that needs to be done as far as what could be built there. But after meeting with staff, meeting with the seller, I do think this project has a lot of potential. I think, you know, the fact that the seller could have sold this property to a developer already, and they really want to sell to the city, and they want to kind of control what gets built next to their property. One of the sellers is going to continue to live on the street and be a neighbor to this project. So I do feel like there's a project here that would work. Some of the restrictions are a little bit problematic for us, but we have met with the seller. They're willing to negotiate on that aspect of it. Right now, I think what we're looking for is the dollar figures is kind of where we are. I think we can negotiate out the rest of the terms. But as far as whether the board actually supported the purchase, if they felt this was a good purchase, and what kind of dollar threshold that you were looking at, so that we could go and negotiate with the seller and bring back a contract.
We had to start with some starting point. And we thought it best because the CRA by ourselves wouldn't have much utilization for future redevelopment, but certainly partnered with the city and the expansion of the park made a lot of sense and still be able to meet our goals and objectives, as Lauren aptly stated, about preserving public access to the waterfront.
You know,
I have a quick
Wait, we got
Go ahead.
Board Member Kelly up first.
I know, go.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren, for coming tonight. This is something that you and I have been talking about for a long time. And this is something that I brought to Andrew and Tim and said, we need to figure out how we can grab this piece of intercoastal land that we just never get an opportunity like this. And to be able to really expand Harvey Oyer, which we're so desperate to do, I think is a win for the city. Lauren, when we first spoke, there was, you were gonna piece out the parcel, and I know this last time that we spoke, they were willing to sell the entire parcel, and I think that that really is the only option for us, because I don't want to leave a small piece that somebody could come in and do something with later on down the line. And I think that we could utilize all of the space. And so I don't need to have much discussion on this. I support our option one on this. And, you know, I thank Andrew and Tim for entertaining me on this when it came to my table, and thank you, Lauren, for coming, and you know, to the owner for thinking that the city is really the best option, and that they would want to see the city take control of this and do something good with it that would benefit the rest of the residents of the city. So that's my position on that.
I agree.
Let my colleagues talk, and then I'm gonna make a motion.
All right, I haven't been really knowledgeable with this plan until like right now. I like the idea of having more space in the waterfront, but at what cost? What's the current,
Not far over appraisal.
Yeah.
what's the appraised value?
It is.
It's 6.606.
6.6?
Exactly, yes.
And what's the zoning on this land?
The current zoning is for residential use up to 11 units an acre.
But the contingency is for it to mimic the use of Harvey Oyer's restricted covenant, I believe, if I read that correctly.
That
How
is
much in our
consideration.
budget, how much do we have for land acquisition? Because we just purchased
19 million.
$8.1 million today earlier in this meeting.
8,
We are currently rolling over.
yeah. And we have 19.
And it's water property.
It's waterfront, that's why it's expensive.
This fiscal
not gonna
year,
get it
we're
at a
currently
better
rolling
price.
over 17. So if you were to take the consideration immediately, it would be 17. Less 8.1.
Right.
But the potential on this property to earn money, which is very rare in a CRA capacity lately.
And if it helps at all, Vicky, can you pull up the comparables real quick, which is attachment 7? You can see what they're offering is, I want to say it was 6% overappraised for the whole. If you could zoom in to the first line.
I have a couple questions. Has this been on the market at all, or?
So the discussions started, just informally with the commissioners quite some time ago, brought it officially at their recommendation to the CRA, first outreach in April, and then have had numerous meetings since then. It is a little bit of a slower process than the seller was, interested in, and so the property is currently marketed on the MLS. I have a number of interested developers that I've been keeping warm as we've been waiting to get this meeting on the agenda.
Yeah, please.
I'm all for land acquisition, but it just struck me as being a little humorous that we just spent a lot of time discussing a $8.1 million purchase, and here we're looking at, was it 1.27 for $7 million? I know it's waterfront and all that good stuff, but I just want to know, I think I heard you say it as a 0.75 purchase also for over $4 million. What will we do with, right now, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about putting 2 restaurants on the 1.27 and parking. Is that the idea? I know it hasn't been sealed in concrete yet, but that's what you have on your drawing, right?
So initially, when we first met with the seller, they wanted to retain that small parcel, the .25. They were going to do a residence there. So that was one of the things that we were working towards. As we developed, the drawings you have now are the .75. The rendering isn't the full 1.2. So that will give us a little bit more room to work with. And one of the things that we do have here is there's a new base flood elevation that's going to effect here. I think it was in July of this year. So the base flood there's at 10, so it is going to be a little bit harder to build there. But as you can see also with the rendering, we also are looking at, the reconstruction of our pier that was at Oyer Park. So I do think the timing of this is actually perfect because it gives us an opportunity to open up that waterfront with either providing dockage or even a dock master. You even mentioned today about some of the work you're going to do at the marina. If we could have gotten this project stood up in conjunction with that, this is a place where we could move boats. This gives us another alternate location to do events. This also potentially could activate this park in the evenings or in off-peak hours. That right now we're not seeing a lot of boats going there in the off-peak hours, so it's another revenue-generating potential as well.
Okay, I'm going to support this, but it just struck me as being a little odd. I know it's waterfront and all that, but if you look at the serviceability, it's only going to serve a certain population, small, in comparison to what we were talking about off of I-95, which is going to service a lot of people. So it just struck me as being a little odd, but I do support it.
And it does become a destination for where we are too, and it changes the whole dynamic of that
I spend a lot of
corridor.
time on the east side of the
Yeah.
city, so.
Please.
For clarification, I did speak with Lauren about this, and Andrew, I want to disclose that. And then I'm not in favor of the pieced out parcel, but I will make a motion to approve the purchase or enter negotiations. I'll make a motion to enter negotiations with option 1.
Which is the 1.27?
The 1.27 acres,
Yeah.
the whole piece.
Right.
Agree.
I'll second it if that's a motion.
Okay. We have a motion to go into contract negotiations for option 1 of 670 Oak Street. We have a second. We have a motion from board member.
I would just suggest a little caution, if we can.
have a motion, we have a second from board member Hay. All those in favor say aye.
Board Chair, apologies, you must take public comment first.
Oh, public comment. Anyone?
I just wanted to add one detail. Being that the family has owned this for so long, we are a very close-knit street on Oak Street and in that area with residents around. So the working through the restrictive covenant and the use of this is going to be very important to the community there, and we look forward to working together to do so.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, so we have
No, I was just going to make a quick comment if I may.
We have one more comment.
Oh,
don't we?
do we have, are you coming down for public comment?
Yes.
Okay, come on
Come on
down.
down.
Come on down. Price is right.
That's what I feel like every time I say that.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth Rowe. I know many of you from over the last few years. I was on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for 28 years, and I've also lived on Oak Street for 28 years. I understand what you were saying in reference to having open land, of getting land. I don't know if you recall, or some of you, I know that, Mr. Hay, you remember when we had the shooters that was there. And we had the opportunity, the city
do.
had the opportunity to purchase this piece of property for $1.2 million. We purchased it and we declined it, and it was purchased, we only put an offer in for $1 million. That included that entire place where we have high rises, which I'm not very fond of. We had a pool that's still there. There was dockage, we could have made a lot of money, but the option was taxes, money, affordable housing, whatever it be. So I would not like to see that opportunity disappear again. I think that, as you were saying, the full piece of property, you are not going to get that type of property again. You keep talking about Boynton is the Gulf Stream. That is the Gulf Stream. That is the inlet. We have people that stay there. They park their boat there. They go to the Bahamas. We have people that fish. They were always at the fishing pier. Families. We had food trucks that used to be there. And then there was comment, oh, it's too much noise. We don't have police to watch this area. So a lot of opportunities have passed by, and I've been there to watch them. I've actually owned 3 properties in District 2, and each one got closer to the water. And here, one thing that I was just worried about is if it was purchased, traffic. How would this work out? How long would it take for construction? Would the entrance only be coming into where the boat ramp is? How many spaces are we gonna lose for boat parking? I actually was on the board at the time when this was redone. I had a playground which was in my backyard, and we had bathrooms that were near the boat ramp. Well, a lot of the times children couldn't make it to the bathroom, so one of my suggestions was put a playground next to the bathroom. So I just hope that some of these moves, are thought about on our street. I have other people here that live on the street there as well. I noticed that when the boat ramp was redone, that they had put a cement wall on the north side. We were given a wire fence that's falling apart. I would like to see a cement wall similar to the one that's there for our privacy. I know my time is running up, but I've had situations where I've had 13
Wrap it up.
13 people that were on our property where Border Patrol took care of. I also had a gentleman that was shot in the behind, jumped my fence, ran through our yard, ran and jumped into my neighbor's car that had 2 children under 5. Luckily, we were there. We were able to apprehend the gentleman. Police came, fire came. I also had a shooting within 50 yards of my bedroom window. So for me, I still love the park. I want it to be there. I think that having a restaurant is excellent. I have been pushing, as all of you know, forever to get that fishing pier back. There's so many families that use it, you just don't know. I know people don't say anything. I'm there almost every day. You can even ask anybody. I love it. I love to watch the boats go by. And again, we are the closest to the Gulf Stream on the whole entire east coast of the United States. And we're not taking advantage. I'd love to see a hotel, like you're saying, knock that one down. We know about that one. But I would have loved to see a hotel downtown. We don't have that. People come to visit, but they have nowhere to go. And I think we need something like that. But, I support it, but I just think that if you can also ask us a little more of what we want to see. I don't know why we need to have 2 restaurants. Shooters was 2 stories. How big is the stories going to be?
Yeah,
But-
okay, thank
But
you.
I'll let you go. But
Thank you.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Andrew, just for clarification, these are just rough skeptics, right? I mean, ultimately, anything that would be done here would come to, I think really we should probably have a workshop about this, maybe a joint workshop, and have a discussion on what we want to see there. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with it, but we have more
Yeah,
time.
I'm just gonna make one comment real quick, and this is just to keep in mind for the future and the present. Let's stop overpaying for property, please. We're using taxpayer dollars, and, I think that there's a lot of value in this land and in this space. There's a lot of opportunity. But in a general sense, as we go forward and we make purchases, I would caution the board to really stick as close to appraisal as humanly possible, especially in. as
Unfortunately,
in the
that's
market
just
right now.
not the way real estate
Well,
works. It
Tim,
just
isn't-
doesn't. It's-
Tim, this
it's
is
highest
with-
and best use.
Point of
it's
order, we're in
potential,
the middle
yeah.
of public comment. Let's finish public comment, and then we can
Oh,
have
no.
the discussion.
We have a
We don't even
motion
need
too. We're done.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Emily Ryan. My husband and I have lived on Oak Street for 4 years now. I would love to see the city purchase this. I don't want it to get in the hands of a developer, especially with putting high rises or even small communities. I walk to the park every day. So if the city does purchase, I'd like to see, I do use that right-of-way passage to get to the park. So I would like to see, I know that would, if you guys did purchase, it would take over that right-of-way passage. So I would like to see maybe a gate or something for Oak Street residents or Lake Street residents to kind of still have access to the park. Gated or locked or something, just so we have access. A cement wall, like Betty said, would be a cool thing to have as well. And then I like that the fishing pier is getting put back into the plans, as well as the beach, I think would be a good idea. And then I saw the kayak launch. 2 restaurants, I don't know about that. If it was more like a prime catch style instead of like a 2 Georges, I think that would be cool with restricted hours. And then also, I know during busy season, there is an overflow of boat trailer parking. I have heard possibly that they're gonna be redoing the parking lot and taking away boat trailer parking. I don't know if that's a good idea, and I know they've been taking it a lot, which is great. But I think figuring out a way to figure out the parking situation without taking away boat trailer parking. So maybe 1 restaurant and make more parking available over at the new piece of property. But yeah, those are just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I think the big thing here for me is the marina slips too, because the way I'm thinking is if we can get this project done, we have a workshop, we discuss. All right, hold on, we get more public comment.
Oh, my God.
Guys, Mike Ryan, Emily, same thing, Emily, Betty. I'm for it. The big things are traffic calming, noise, the foot traffic, the mess, the garbage, the park. You know, it's already tough now because you go there and there's not enough garbage cans. There's not enough law enforcement around. And so those are kind of my concerns. The marina, that's a tricky one because I saw the bathymetric survey for that, for the piece of water directly in front of that lot. And to me, it's not going to be, it doesn't look like it'd be something cheap at all to do. And it doesn't make sense to have a waterfront restaurant if you're not going to do it right. Get a marina there, get adequate amount of slips, get adequate amount of dockage, get a canal, those kind of things, and do it right. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the big thing is if, like the seawall at the current commercial marina, right? We establish slips here, we can help mitigate those people being dislocated as we repair the seawall, right? I don't know what the time frame is, that's kind of my thought. Is that going to happen? I don't know, but I think we have a lot of opportunity here. We all sat here in May and talked about focusing on commercial development, destination commercial, sorry, and this is an opportunity to do that. I don't know if what in front of me is the final answer, but, you know, definitely more discussion, and, yeah, that's it. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Thank you so much.
A motion.
So we do
and a
have a
second.
motion from Board Member Turkin and a second from Board Member Kelly to go
think
into
it was Board
contract.
Member Hay.
Oh, was it?
Hey.
Board Member Hay to go into contract negotiation for Oak Street. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. The next item for discussion and consideration of the future use of 419 North Seacrest Boulevard.
As the board is aware, sorry.
Go ahead.
On November 21st, 2024, the CRA board approved the acquisition of a property located at 419 North Seacrest. It's 0.327 acres. The idea was basically affordable housing, to be able to provide affordable housing at that location. CRA staff is just looking for board's guidance on potential concepts because the structure is in good shape, and we were looking at opportunities or what the board may be interested in seeing as an opportunity for this in the interim, as opposed to just going ahead and knocking down a structure and providing, single-family homes that are affordable. So staff was looking for your direction if you would like us to look at community co-work space or potentially a micro art studio incubator or something that you may have an idea of that we're not thinking of on a certain period of term, and take a look at that, see how that would cost, see what we would need to do to manage it, and then bring it back for your, we would want to research it and bring it back for your input.
Yes, Chair, thank you. The reason I said something, Tim, is because Andrew was leaving, and I would have hoped he would have stayed for this conversation, because I was going to bring up, you and I spoke about it. This is something I proposed to Andrew. We have Head Start in the city that is looking for a new home or has property in there in the interim. And so I suggested this property to Andrew as a possible temporary home for Head Start. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, that we do have this organization that's trying to find a temporary home while they build their new one. It would alleviate some pressure that's on the other hat that we wear, the city hat, for our, for another department. But so I just wanted to throw that out there, that it was a property that I suggested to city staff that we may want to see if we could utilize that for that purpose in the interim. But otherwise, I do love the idea of utilizing this as either a co-work space or a micro art studio incubator. So I support staff suggestions on those, but I did want to throw it out there as a possible temporary home for Head Start, if that worked.
Space about 1,700 square feet, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm not sure how useful that would be, but certainly we will coordinate with city staff, as always, to see if there's a other purpose.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was that the facility that they're in now, it's being underutilized. They're not using the entire space. So it may be one of those things where it could be used. I just wanted to I didn't want, since it's a functional space that could be utilized by them, I wanted to make sure that we have looked at all of the options before we just did something else with it.
We will definitely explore that and reach out to city staff.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Any other comments, questions? Any public comment? Okay, so we're not going to be voting on anything on this tonight, so we
No,
can
I'm just looking for
move on.
direction on what you would like us to research. I mean, if there's something you feel particularly strong at.
Yes. It's worth it.
We good? Okay, we're good. Okay. Next item for discussion and consideration is the planning for 2026 legislative session. Mr. Tack?
Actually, I'll defer to Catherine Rossmill on this side.
Got it.
Good evening again. You may recall that last meeting, I suggested to you all that if you would like for the CRA to pursue any legislative priorities, per your earlier direction in the year, that it might be more beneficial to jump on that sooner rather than later. So wanted to have the opportunity to have the discussion with you all to see if there are any legislative priorities the CRA would like to pursue, and how you would like to go about securing a lobbyist for that. As you all are aware, my firm acted as, we have a lobbying department. They did act as the lobbyist for the CRA this past session. We would certainly be happy to do that again. We could also work with the city's lobbyist if that's your preference. We could go out for RFP. You're not required to do an RFP if you secure a law firm. So we just looking for any general direction, would like to get an early start, committee week start in October. So again, just seeking if you have any legislative priorities, if you'd like to secure a lobbyist, who and how you'd like to go about that. So this is really an open discussion to give you all the chance to work through that.
I'm okay not to do anything right now. We have a city lobbyist, and if we need to address anything like last session, I don't want to double dip. So no action from me.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that we're getting ahead of it. And so I think if we are having conversations with the city lobbyist on our, because I mean, until the bills start getting filed, we really don't know what, if anything, we're anticipating that we'll see it. I think that it's conversations I've had with representatives recently. So I think until we know that there's an issue, I think we just, Catherine, if you could just stay on top of that, and if we come to the point where there's bills being filed, so that we're not waiting until they're being heard, then that would be helpful, and then we can, as we get closer to session, I think that would.
Sure, I mean, and we I'm happy to work with whoever, with the city lobbyist, whoever. I will say that monitoring bills is an extended effort, right, of being filed. So we do have a legislative matter open for you all. I can do it under that. And then if you want to secure lobbying services, we can revisit this at that point. So if you'd like to proceed in that manner, we can do that as well.
I have triggers on the website, so I get notifications when things get filed, so I will let you know when they get filed.
Yeah, and we do watch it as well, but, I'll give you an example, just to understand, so that you understand our perspective on it. So a few years ago, there was a statute put in place, as you all are aware, that there now must be an anti-human trafficking affidavit signed with every contract entered into. Logistically, this is complicated. It would not have triggered a CRA statute, right? So we will do our best to keep our eyes peeled for all legislation. I will keep you updated, and we'll take your further direction.
Okay, and we can move on to, public comment. What do we need here? Nothing? We're not voting on anything?
No, and you're not foreclosing the possibility either, so.
Okay, so we're good. Okay. Next item for discussion and consideration is the registration and travel expenses to attend the Florida Redevelopment Association 2025 Annual Conference on October 14th to 17th, 2025 in West Palm Beach. Tim, you got the floor.
All right, so this is our annual conference. It is our organizational's it's our professional organization. It is, I think, highly beneficial, not only from a staff side, but from a board side. It is local. It is in West Palm Beach. So we were just trying to get an idea of who would be able to, who would be liking to attend. Since there is no hotel stay, we also wanted to see if there was a board consideration, because historically they have given or considered the opportunity for CRAB members to attend FRA to the amount of possibly up to 2. Since it is local, we just wanted to see if there was any interest in opening that up more than 2 this year.
When do we have to make a decision by?
It's the end of registration, yeah.
Right.
I'd like to know that, just so I know I'm not booked in court or something with work, but I definitely would be
Is
considering it.
Can you click on the registration information? I believe the registrations need to be placed by September 26th for the early,
Okay.
and then after that, it goes up.
Okay, thank you.
I can't
Well,
confirm
I
if
lost
I'm going to go, but I am open to having 2 CRAB members
Me too.
go in attendance as well. So I'll solidify my attendance at the next CRA meeting in September.
Me too.
I will be able to attend, but I would like to see some crowd people in there.
Would you like to open it more than 2, since there is no hotel associated with this? And
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
I mean, no hotel, no flight, none of that stuff, man. Just drive in.
No, it's kind of going to be nice, and we're actually going to be a part of the tour, Boynton.
Yeah, Boynton is
that's-
on one of the
can't get
tours. Yeah, so on Wednesday, when they do the tours of the cities, Boynton Beach is on it with Delray, so.
okay. Is there anything else
Motion to adjourn.
from my colleagues tonight?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from Board Member Turkin, a second from Board Member Hay. Everyone have a good night.
Okay, you too.